This is a recap of The Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan. The Wheel of Time Book 3. Prologue, Fortress of the Light. Pedron Neal is holding audience with Jarrett Beyer. He is looking at a drawing of a gray-eyed youth with reddish hair, the newly proclaimed Dragon Reborn. Beyer confirms that he is a false dragon. He says that thousands in Terabon and Arad Doman have declared for the dragon, and there is fighting in both nations and the Almouth Plain in between. He reports that Geoffram Bornhold and 1,000 of the children were killed by Aes Sedai aided by dark friends calling themselves Shan Shan. Neal believes that this proves the three oaths to speak no word that is not true, to make no weapon for one man to kill another, to use the one power as a weapon only against dark friends or Shadowspawn are a lie. Neal tells Beyer to bring Dane Bornhold news of his father's death. Before he leaves, Beyer insists that a particular dark friend, Perrin Ibarra from the Two Rivers, is to blame for it all. Neal wonders about the other two false dragons in Tyr and Saldia, and the reports of Ale being seen as far west as Kender and Gildan. The Athan Mir are also searching for something rather than engaging in their usual trade, and Elian has again called the Great Hunt of the Horn. Taken together, there are too many portents to be ignored. The last battle is surely coming soon. He still insists that all of the declared dragons must be false, however. Jachim Caridin enters the room, and reports that dark friends who seized Falme had gathered to support the false dragon with Aes Sedai support. Neal scoffs at this because Geoffram Bornhold had fought those people and Jachim had previously named Bornhold a dark friend. Are dark friends fighting each other now, then? Caridin is unmoved and dismisses the rumors about Shan Shan from across the Aerith Ocean. Neal presses Caridin and holds him to account on his failure to carry out his orders to seize Almouth Plain and raise the dead nation of Almouth for the children. The plan was to hold Almouth and Amadisha, sandwiching Terabon and forcing the nation to submit to the children's will. Neal threatens to give Caridin over to the High Inquisitor for questioning over his failure, but relents and commands him to make sure that the false dragon is not killed and to kill any Aes Sedai who oppose the false dragon. Caridin says supporting a false dragon is treason and blasphemy, but Neal says it is only what must be done. Neal implies that a big threat like a strong false dragon will lead many to unite behind a strong hand like the Children of the Light. Neal says that if anything happens to the false dragon or Neal, Caridin will be dead within a month. When the Inquisitor leaves, Neal contemplates his grand plan to use the false dragon to strengthen support for the children until eventually he will unite the forces of the light behind him to fight and win Tarmon Gaidon. History will tell the tale of how Pedron Neal led the forces of the light against the Dark One and won. Ordith emerges from a secret passage in the wall. Neal is angry that Ordith came unsummoned and was eavesdropping. Neal had shown him the passage so that he could come secretly when summoned. Neal had taken him in because he had information about Toman Head that Neal did not receive elsewhere. Ordith looks at a drawing of the false dragon, and tells Neal that it is Rand al'Thor, a dark friend from the Two Rivers. He also tells Neal of Rand's friends Matrim Kothan and Perrin Ibarra, and that the Two Rivers is a nest of dark friends. Neal wonders whether he ought to make plans for the Two Rivers when the snow clears. Caridin strides down the halls of the fortress with a grimace on his face that makes other men avoid him. He enters his rooms, looking for his servant, Sharban, but is deeply shaken to see a Murdril instead. The Fade reminds him of his real priorities, telling him that he had orders from the Great Lord of the Dark to find and kill Rand al'Thor above all else. Caridin is confused, as he was under the impression that the Great Lord wanted to use Rand al'Thor, not kill al'Thor. The Fade dismisses his questioning and then threatens to kill one of his blood each month until al'Thor is dead. If he runs out of relatives, he will be taken to Sheol Ghul to die a slow and excruciating death. After the Fade leaves, Sharban finally enters, and Caridin orders him to fetch him pen and paper for the orders he must write. Caridin is debating which orders he must obey. Chapter 1 Waiting. Perrin on his horse Stepper, along with Uno Nomesta, Massima Degar, Reagan and 2 other unnamed Shinarian soldiers, are waiting for a woman coming to see Moraine Sedai. Perrin finds himself using his wolf-enhanced senses and tries to stop using them. He almost tries to contact the wolves to find out more about what is in the mountains around them but refuses to. The Shinarans are deferring to Perrin, and he isn't sure why they should, since he sees himself as just a blacksmith apprentice. Perrin spots the woman first in the distance coming from the west. Masema spots a raven which Perrin kills with an arrow. The woman comes into view of the waiting party, and everyone sees she's one of the Tuathan. They ride out to meet her, where Perrin starts subtly questioning her to see if she's the one they are waiting for. The woman, called Leia, gives the name Moiraine, confirming she is the one. Perrin asks another question to confirm her identity, and is satisfied with the answer. The men start guiding Leia to the camp of the Dragon Reborn. Perrin begins to make idle conversation with her, which quickly becomes slightly heated on the subject of the Way of the Leaf. Perrin ends the conversation, and they ride through the wilderness in silence until they reach the camp. Chapter 2, Side In. In the camp, Leia insists on going straight to Moiraine, but she does ask Perrin to feed her horse, Paisa. Perrin sees Min peering at Leia and asks her what she sees. Min has a viewing of Leia and predicts that she will have a violent death. The Tinker Woman is going to die. I saw her own face floating over her shoulder, covered in blood, eyes staring. Min implies that she sees viewings of violence around Perrin, but Perrin stops her before she can reveal more. Perrin worries that Leia's viewing means the camp will be in danger, but he rejects contacting the wolves and decides to rely on the scouts. Moiraine has warded the camp anyway, and it would be invisible to Shadow Spawn unless they stumble upon it. Loyal comes over and they tell him about Leia. Min complains about being swept up by the power of Ta'veren and Aes Sedai. Loyal reveals that he plans to write a book about the Ta'veren. Rand comes out of Moiraine's cabin and walks away. They have been arguing. Uno, Masema, Reagan and the other Shinarans are in awe of him. Leia is in Moiraine's cabin with Lan and her. Perrin follows Rand to a fissure in the mountain wall. Rand recites a portion of the prophecies of the dragon, and notes that there are no dragons yet. Rand asks Perrin if he thinks Matt is okay, and Perrin says yes. He thinks Matt and the others must be in Tar Valon by now. They briefly discuss their duties as Ta'veren. Rand explains that he has been arguing with Moiraine over whether to stay put or do something about the people fighting and dying for him on Almouth Plain. He understands that she is right and that he cannot join any of the small groups of men who have declared for them, since that would just attract attention from stronger parties like the White Cloaks and get them all killed. Still, he feels that he has to do something. Rand knows he must face Ba'alzamon again. As he frets, he feels Satan pulling at him and causes an earthquake without even knowing it. Rand asks Perrin if he has particular dreams, but Perrin has learned to protect his. Perrin goes back to the camp, but Rand stays behind to brood some more. Chapter 3, News from the Plain. Perrin again gets the urge to communicate with wolves but suppresses it. He returns to the camp and tells Moiraine and Min, who are both cross at Rand, that the earthquake was an accident. Loyal, Uno and the Shinarans are fixing the damage. Perrin tells Min she should go home, but Min refuses, saying that a thing need not be bad just because it was chosen for her rather than by her. Perrin sees Rand sneaks back into camp. Rand skips dinner so that he doesn't have to come to the campfire and be seen by the Shinarans. He does not wish to lord over them. Moiraine, Lan, Uno and Loyal join them. Moiraine relates the news from Leia. Almouth Plain is in chaos. Hunters for the Horn of Valir have appeared on the plain, but they won't find the horn since it has already been found. A huge force of White Cloaks is pushing out the Taraboners and Domani rather than attacking those following Rand. The White Cloaks seem to be intentionally avoiding the Dragonsworn. They publicly announce that they will bring down the false dragon but always arrive too late to find large bands of Dragonsworn. Loyal suggests that Rand could go to his supporters as he wishes then, but Lan is sure that it is some convoluted White Cloak plot. 3 boys resembling Rand have been murdered, probably by Grey men. Moiraine feels that Rand's display likely alerted any nearby Fade, so the guards will need to be on high alert tonight. Perrin skips dinner as well and goes to his hut to sleep. He is part of the watch later, and will need to be especially alert. After a while he falls asleep and starts dreaming. Chapter 4, Shadows Sleeping. Perrin is dreaming that he is in an inn. An injured man, wearing velvet with white lace at the collar, encourages him to give up the axe and go back to being a blacksmith. Perrin replies that he will, but not yet, because he is Ta'veren. The man tries to get him to drink something. A murmur keeps appearing in the back of Perrin's mind, but he refuses it. In refusing it, he also refuses the drink. The man tells Perrin that his fate is tied with the other two Ta'veren. Should one fail, all three will. Then he finds himself standing in front of a mirror. He is wearing armor and a golden helmet shaped like a lion's head. The axe is by his side now. He feels like he's carried it in hundreds of battles. The most beautiful woman he has ever seen is standing in the room with him, talking about glory. He is affected by her tales of glory, and is about to agree with her when the murmuring comes again. He refuses the murmurs and in doing so also refuses the glory. She offers him a drink too, but he again refuses. She leaves, but not before saying that she will be in his dreams. Then Perrin finds himself standing on a bridge leading to endless pathways in many directions. There are many bridges, ramps and stairs in every direction in all three dimensions. Far away he sees a woman hurrying somewhere. Below him on a different bridge, two men are arguing. One is tall and slender with silver in his black hair. The other is not as tall and has short, white hair. The two men converse but not amiably. A third man joins them and the first two men seem to ally against him. Finally all three start shouting at each other, and the meeting breaks up in a ball of fire. A wolf appears and Perrin shouts, "No!" Perrin shifts to a place he seems to recognize. He sees a crystal sword hanging in the air, and he cannot grab it. A whisper seems to give its name, Calendar. Then there is another whisper. "The Twisted Ones come," which comes from a wolf. Chapter 5: Nightmares Walking. Perrin awakens to discover the camp under attack by Trollocs and Myrddraal. Land comes out of his cabin alerting the Sheenarans of the assault. Perrin chastises himself for not letting the wolves' warnings of Twisted Ones enter into his consciousness fully, but quickly grabs his axe and starts to fight. He rushes to save Leia from her predicted fate, killing all Trollocs in his path. Perrin intercepts a Trolloc before it can fall on Leia and he wrestles with it, rolling on the ground. Eventually he kills it after having received a bad gash on his back and bruise on his shoulder. Leia, rather than being grateful for Perrin saving her life, gives him a look that resembles pity. A Myrddraal descends from the roofing of the hut and keeps Perrin frozen in place with its fear-inducing gaze, leisurely walking towards him. Leia attempts to tackle the Myrddraal from behind despite Perrin's protests, and is killed with an almost casual backhand blow by the Myrddraal, who keeps its gaze on Perrin. The wolves tell Perrin that they are coming, and this allows Perrin to free himself from the Myrddraal's induced paralysis. Perrin is consumed with rage, merging his consciousness with that of the wolves, and he kills the Myrddraal with quick blows reminiscent of the wolves' attacks. Perrin then goes on a rampage, slaughtering the Trollocs heedless of hurt and fatigue until the battle is concluded. The battle is brutal as there are fewer Sheenarans able to stand than not. The ground is soaked with the blood of dead Trollocs, wolves, and Sheenarans. A Myrddraal attempts to flee, but wolves from an entire pack throw themselves at it, sacrificing themselves to kill it. Only one wolf, Morning Mist, survives and she howls to mourn the death of her pack. Without realizing it, Perrin does the same. Min asks Perrin if he is okay and all the Sheenarans are staring at him. Land compliments Perrin's fighting and bravery and gives him a salute of respect. The Sheenarans echo it. Masema says the wolves fighting for the Lord Dragon is a sign that they should go forth and spread the word of the dragon, but Uno says they will stay until the Lord Dragon tells them to go. Perrin insists that they bury the dead wolves properly, and the others agree. Perrin walks over to Rand, who is skulking on the side. Rand vents his frustration, telling Perrin that all he had managed to do during the raid was set a few trees on fire. While everyone else was fighting the Trollocs, Rand was fighting against Satan to keep it from burning himself up or bringing the entire mountain down upon them. Rand also sensed the shadow spawn coming but did not realize what the feeling was, because it was so similar to the taint on Satan. Perrin attempts to reassure Rand that they did fine to no avail. Perrin also has his own regrets for not opening himself to the wolves, who were trying to warn him about the impending attack. Moiraine comes over to heal Perrin's injuries after having healed the others. She mentions that she healed the wolves too, and notes that it was the wolves who tipped the scales and saved them. Rand did not sustain any injuries from the battle, but the wound from his fight against Baalzamon and Falme has reopened. Moiraine heals the old wound and faints from exhaustion. There is nobody available to heal her. Min suggests Rand could do it, but Lan says that he does not know enough and could harm her. Rand says bitterly that he cannot be trusted since Luz Theron was a kinslayer, but Lan scolds him. He is a man and a man will do what must be done. Rand takes this to heart, and agrees that it is his duty to fight the Dark One, but he does not have to like it. Chapter 6. The hunt begins. Lan wakes Perrin and says that Rand is gone. Perrin is still hungry, and effective being healed. He craves raw meat as wolves do. Masema thinks they did something to anger the dragon, and he abandoned them, but Perrin reassures him that this was Rand's plan. Perrin goes to Moraine's hut and Min and Loyal are also there. Perrin thinks Masema is going crazy, but Moiraine has no time to spare for that. Min gives Perrin the note Rand wrote before leaving in the night. Rand's note says that Baalzamon is hunting for him again, and this time either Baalzamon or Rand must die. Rand has left alone because he does not want anyone else dying for him. Perrin blames Moiraine for this because she pushed Rand to declare himself the dragon. Does she really believe him the true Dragon Reborn, or is she just using him for her own ends? She does not answer the question directly. Moiraine worries about dangers Rand is not aware of. The seals on the Dark One's prison are weakening and many of the Forsaken may be loose already. Perrin mutters about Rand's dreams and Moiraine makes him tell her about his dreams, the one about Calendar in particular. Apparently Rand is unconsciously broadcasting his dreams so that others have the same dreams. Someone could be manipulating Rand's dreams of Calendar to lure him to take it. The dragon is prophesied to be the only person who can take Calendar from where it sits in the heart of the stone. They know Rand is going to tear now and must follow him. Moiraine sends the Sheenarans to Johanna, capital of Gildan, since most are too wounded to participate in the chase. Moiraine insists that Min go to Tar Valon to report to the Amerlin what has happened. Min protests mightily, but she is the only one who can deliver the message without others realizing it is from Moiraine. Just Moiraine, Lan, Loyal and Perrin will pursue Rand. Before they leave, Min takes Perrin aside and tells him of viewings she had of him since his decision to go was made. An Ailman in a cage. A Tothan with a sword. A falcon and a hawk perching on his shoulders, both female. She also warns him to run if he encounters the most beautiful woman he has ever seen, but this just confuses him now and later. Perrin starts to think Min is interested in him, but then realizes that Min is in love with Rand. Chapter 7. The Way Out of the Mountains. The group rides for days, with winter changing into spring as they descend from the mountains. Perrin knows wolves are nearby but keeps his mind closed to them. Lan rides ahead of the others, leaving signs behind to indicate the path they should follow. Moiraine complains that Lan is moving too slowly and makes a snide remark about sending him to Morel. Moiraine has the dragon banner that Rand left behind. Often Perrin and Loyal catch mountain trout in streams for their food. One day Moiraine is interested and they show her how they grab the trout with their hands. Perrin does not expect Moiraine to succeed, but she immediately catches 3, the biggest ones Perrin has ever seen. Perrin is upset that Moiraine will not take her turn at the chores. Perrin does not want Moiraine to run his life, yet he finds himself manipulated into doing every little thing for her despite his wishes. They enter Gildan and begin to see cleared land and farms. They finally come upon the village of Jarrah. Chapter 8. Jarrah. They enter the village of Jarrah and it seems as though the people had a feast recently. Perrin thinks he smells something wrong, very faintly, but doesn't know what it is. They go to the inn and the sweeper outside, Simeon, is startled by Loyal until he learns that Loyal is an Ogier. They dismount and Moiraine asks if they had a wedding, and Simeon says they had a plague of weddings. Day and night, more than in the last 50 years. Simeon then gets stable boys to tend the horses and prompts the party to go inside for beds and meals. Once inside, Simeon shows them to some upstairs rooms. Moiraine learns from Simeon that white cloaks came through yesterday and behaved very oddly. 3 of them declared that they were no longer White Cloaks and rode away, effectively deserting. Their officer could not stop them because there was other trouble. 1 White Cloak left to hunt for the Horn of Valir and another departed for Almouth Plain to hunt the dragon there. Then other White Cloaks started grabbing at women in the streets, and were stopped by the remaining White Cloaks, almost coming to blows. Another 2 White Cloaks declared the entire village dark friends and tried to burn it down, but were thankfully also stopped by other White Cloaks. The innkeeper, Herod, now despises the White Cloaks because of all this. After finishing with Moraine, Simeon shows Perrin and Loyal to their room. Perrin asks Simeon if he saw someone matching Rand's description. Apparently Rand came through and played the flute for all the weddings in exchange for food and board. He awoke in the middle of the night rambling about someone being after him and left immediately, heading east. Perrin says that they are following Rand to help him, and Simeon thinks Moraine means to catch up to Rand and heal him. Simeon recognizes Moraine as Aes Sedai and asks if she'll help his brother Gnome too. Perrin agrees to ask her but makes no promises. Perrin goes to tell Moraine and Lan that Rand stayed in the inn the night before. She says that was obvious since Rand's Ta'veren nature was behind the weddings and the White Cloak actions. Moraine chastises him for asking so openly, as their enemies will know they have been here. Lan seems to suggest to Moraine that he kills Simeon to silence him, but she says no. Perrin tells her about Simeon's brother, and they go to the stable. Gnome has golden eyes and Simeon says that he has been saying he can talk to wolves. Perrin reaches out to Gnome, and knows that he feels like a wolf. Moraine sets about trying to heal him, and says she cannot. There is nothing in him that remembers being a man. Perrin says he won't get any better, and asks Simeon to let him go free, as wolves cannot be caged. Simeon agrees and also tells him that the White Cloaks were looking for a man with yellow eyes named Perrin Ibarra, who they named Dark Friend. Perrin asks if he believes the White Cloaks, but Simeon says that he does not believe a Dark Friend would care about Gnome as Perrin did. He believes Moraine healed Perrin of a madness like Gnome's before he got too far gone. Chapter 9 Wolf Dreams. Perrin lays in bed and thinks of the innkeeper's brother, and wonders if a similar fate might lie ahead of him. He goes to Moraine's room. He asks if he will end up like that. She says she knows little of his situation. She saw a fragment of a book from the Age of Legends. Some of the few who run with wolves get swallowed up by them. Dreams can be dangerous for him because wolves live partly in a world of dreams. The wolf-speak method of communication is related to dreams. Perrin wants Moraine's help in not losing himself. She says she will try her best, but her struggle against the shadow will always have to come first. He wants her to shield his dreams. She says it wouldn't help, she cannot aid in dreams that come from within him. Perrin returns to his room to sleep and dreams of the wolves. He knows it is a dream and tries to wake up, but nothing happens. He hears Hopper telling him to run, so he runs through a series of hallways. There is a nobleman there wearing black velvet, and the dream seems to kill him. Perrin runs down the hallway and into a room. There is a beautiful woman there, wearing white and silver. She says he cannot be there, and that he will ruin things. Then the room isn't there anymore, and he's in the hall again. Hopper appears and tells him to leave, but Perrin doesn't know how. Hopper attacks him, and then he wakes up. His clothes are bloody, but it is not his blood. It is the blood of the man who was killed in the dream. He washes the blood off his face, then sits on the floor at the foot of the bed so that he cannot sleep deeply. Eventually he falls into a shallow half-sleep. Rand sleeps against a tree. A giant black dog comes toward him, and he channels the power to shoot a beam of light at it. It works this time and the dog is utterly destroyed. He thinks he has to get to Ter to find out if he is really the dragon. Either he will be able to take Calendar and know that it is true, or he will die and that will be an end to it as well. He knows the dogs are hunting him, but he will not be easy prey. Chapter 10 Secrets. Egwene, Nynaeve, Varen, Elaine and Huron are returning to Tar Valon, bringing Mat with them for healing. She cannot see the city as they approach it, but knows it is there as Dragon Mount looms in the distance. It is spring now, and they have been traveling since winter. She has been dreaming of Rand running towards something and also away from something. She expects that Aniel will continue testing her dreams, She burns with the desire to resume her training, to get stronger, so that she will never be a prisoner again. She hates her gray dress, the color of Damani clothing, but it was the only riding dress available. She tells her horse Bella that she'll never wear gray again if she can help it. Nynaeve approaches and tells Egwene to stop talking to herself, since she should be keeping watch for danger instead. Egwene reflects that all 6 in the party have secrets. She worries about Rand and Perrin. Nynaeve knows Egwene has been having dreams again. Nynaeve says a storm is coming, but it is not the weather. Varen and Elaine are with them also. Matt is on a litter and has been unconscious for 3 days. Huron says he senses trouble ahead because of the tracks of horsemen he has seen. Nynaeve says they will be in trouble when they get back to the tower, even though they return with Matt. Matt has the ruby-hilted dagger now, but he is close to dying. Varen and Nynaeve have both tried healing him to no avail. Nynaeve blames her lack of herbs. Children of the Light led by Dane Bornhold approach them. Varen tells them to stay calm and let her do all the talking. Bornhold recognizes Varen as Aes Sedai and assumes Nynaeve is one too. Varen says White Cloaks have no authority here and cannot stop them. Bornhold wants to take them for questioning. He calls Varen a witch. Elaine jumps in and identifies herself. She tells Bornhold to move aside or he will have her mother Morghese to deal with. He responds that Morghese no longer supports the White Tower and would thank him to return her to Caemlyn. Egwene begins to panic over being a prisoner again and fills herself with the power, erupting the ground in front of the White Cloaks. Nynaeve starts to channel, and does the same, and so does Elaine. The White Cloaks ride away except for Bornhold, who is unhorsed and is standing defiant. Egwene finally lets go of Saidar and listens to Varen. Varen tells them Aes Sedai don't use the power as a weapon. Varen says she could have talked them out of bullying them. Egwene apologizes to Bornhold but mentions Falme. Bornhold accuses them of killing his father since he believes it was Aes Sedai, not Shan Shan, that fought at Falme. The party rides off as Dane Bornhold tells them to remember his name. Chapter 11, Tar Valon. There is a line of carts to cross the bridge from Darien to the bridge to Tar Valon. Varen talks with the guard at the bridge into Tar Valon even though Egwene wishes her to hurry as Matt's life is at risk with each passing moment. The White Cloaks have been camped around Tar Valon's surrounding villages trying to cause trouble, but have been unable to come closer than that. The guard asks Varen regarding the rumors they have received from the west. The rumors say there is a new false dragon who killed a lot of White Cloaks and destroyed the city of Falme with support of Aes Sedai and Arthur Hawkwing's armies back from the dead. Egwene notes that the reputation of Aes Sedai appears to be diminished even this close to Tar Valon. Varen dismisses the rumors and tells the guard that Falme certainly still stands. Egwene feels like she is going home, then reflects on what Emond's Field means to her now. She feels she has outgrown Emond's Field and she will only return to visit. Egwene notices they are not being noticed, even carrying Matt along on a litter. Varen says they have to be more careful than ever when they reach the tower grounds. Varen tells Egwene, Elaine and Nynaeve that they are not to talk at all once they arrive, and the girls all agree. Huron departs to inform his king and lord about what happened at Falme. Varen leads them through the gate and to the tower stable yard. Shariah meets them and Varen says to get Matt somewhere away from others since he is very ill and could harm others. Varen says the girls should be taken to their own rooms and that she needs to see the Merlin immediately. Shariah lectures the girls on being runaways when they have so much potential. If they speak, they are to be taken to the kitchen to scrub pots. Theodrin is more sympathetic and takes Nynaeve, while Faelain escorts Egwene and another accepted escorts Elaine. Chapter 12, The Merlin Seat. The Merlin, Suan Sanche, paces in her study, waiting for Varen to arrive and pondering contingencies she has prepared for various events that might happen. Lean, keeper of the chronicles, comes into the room to announce Varen's arrival. To Lean's surprise, Suan dismisses her to speak to Varen alone. Varen tells Suan that Rand has proclaimed himself the Dragon Reborn. Suan is pleased yet extremely anxious. She must assist the dragon with Moraine and Varen yet maintain the utmost secrecy. There are no more false dragons, Suan says. There was a vision in the sky over the battlefields where both were winning and both were unhorsed and knocked unconscious. Mazrimtane was captured and the other false dragon was executed. Those events must have happened when Rand proclaimed himself, and the pattern decided it had no more need of false dragons. Varen takes the horn of Valir out of a leather sack. Suin is surprised to see it here. It was supposed to be with Rand, but it was Mat that blew the horn. Suin asks whether Moraine has changed the plan again, but she is not to blame. Mat is sick and needs to be healed, and there is silent consideration on whether to heal him in time, since he is now linked to the horn, and can be the only one to summon the heroes of the horn, while he lives. The Amerlin says they can hide the horn for now. Varen says they need to deal with the Shan who use the power as a weapon, confirming reports and rumors that Suin has received. Suin decides that since the Shan were chased away from Falme, there are more important issues to deal with. They continue and Suin tells Varen to give details on what Nynaeve, Egwene and Elaine have been doing. Chapter 13, Punishments. Egwene lays on her bed, worrying over what will happen to her. She talks to Elaine through the hole in the wall. Elaine had not expected this reception. Egwene agrees, as she had thought they might be heroes for discovering the Black Aja and that Liandrin is one of them. They also returned with the Horn of Valir. But Varen had said that they cannot speak of Liandrin or the Horn to anyone but the Amerlin. Both Varen and Faelain had mentioned stilling as a possible punishment. The two agree that they would fight or run away before they let that happen. Their doors slam open and Accepted come to take them to the Amerlin. Egwene and Elayne meet up with Nynaeve, who is also on her way to see the Amerlin. Faelain tries to criticize Egwene in front of Lean in the antechamber, but only earns herself a punishment. Lean escorts them in to see the Amerlin, who makes them wait before eventually addressing them. Suin calls them runaways, but Nynaeve immediately disagrees and says that they were only following Liandrin's orders to go with her. Suin says not to speak her name here. Elaine says Liandrin is Black Aja, but Suin already knows. Liandrin and 12 others stole several ter'ngrial from the tower and tried to steal Angreal and Esangreal. They also killed 21 people, including 3 Aes Sedai, to hide their theft and escape. Even though they were tricked into leaving without permission, they are to be sent to Shur-Iam for a sound switching, and they will work in the kitchens until further notice. The punishments are to be announced publicly, which is also part of the punishment. However, Egwene and Elaine will be raised to Accepted because their abilities have greatly increased. Elaine's mother visited the tower and was furious to learn that Elaine had disappeared. She refused to take Elida, normally her advisor, back with her to Caemlyn and demanded that Elaine be returned as soon as possible. Elaine's brothers talked themselves into staying when Morghese wanted to leave with them. Morghese left a letter with Shur-Iam for Elaine. Elaine replies that she wishes to stay and become Aes Sedai. Suin agrees and is determined to see her raised to the shawl. Suin has Lean take Elaine to the kitchen so she can talk to Egwene and Nynaeve in private. Chapter 14, The Bite of the Thorns. Suin ponders on who she can trust. Nynaeve says she doesn't think they can trust Moraine. Suin questions whether Nynaeve has enough experience in the world to really know who to trust. She does believe they can trust Moraine, and thinks they know more than they think they do. Suin says she wishes she could raise Nynaeve to the shawl. After metaphorically beating around the bush, the Suin says they are all she has to work with. They are only ones she can be absolutely sure are not Black Aja, since Liandrin had tried to harm them. Since no one will believe the Amerlin took under her wing someone whom she just humiliated publicly with these punishments, and she can trust them, they are to be her hounds. Egwene and Nynaeve are to hunt the Black Aja for the Amerlin. Suin does not assign the task to Elaine, even though she trusts her also, since Suin must be able to tell Morghese that she did not bring any more danger to her. Egwene is astounded and says they would surely be overmatched. She also has too many tasks already between her punishments, studies and talking to Anya about her dreams. But Suin insists and tells them that they will have to do their investigating between their other duties and within their limited power as Accepted. Nynaeve points out that if any of the sisters teaching them could be a dark friend, it would be safer to try to find them than wait for their plots to unfold. As a concession, the Amerlin gives them papers that have written on them, "What the bearer does is done by my authority. Obey, and keep silent, at my command. Signed, the Amerlin seat." They can use them in situations of utmost need, but they will obviously have to be careful that they are not trying to order dark friends with them. Nynaeve is amused at the idea of ordering Lan with the paper. Suin says Varen will give them all the information they have on Liandrin and the other Black Aja sisters. Egwene and Nynaeve are dismissed with reminders that they have to visit Shuriam and work in the kitchen. Chapter 15, The Grey Man. As they leave the Amerlin's study, they discuss the Black Aja and how they will try to accomplish their task to find the Black Aja. Nynaeve points out they are still in danger whether the Black Aja suspects them or not. They don't understand why, but the Black Aja has already tried to eliminate them and probably will try again. Nynaeve checks Elaine's room, but she is not there. Going back to their rooms, Egwene pauses to ask Nynaeve a question and a crossbow flies past, right where they would have been had Egwene not stopped. Nynaeve becomes angry enough to channel and uses air to hold the person who shot it. By the time they reach him, the man is already dead with a dagger in his chest. Egwene notices there is no crossbow, so someone else must be around. Shuriam comes up the stairs and sees them. She kneels beside the corpse to examine it. Shuriam says he is one of the soulless, a grey man. They give up their souls to serve the Dark One, Shuriam explains. One has not dared to enter Tar Valon since the Trolloc Wars. She says they are not to speak of this and sends them on their way. Nynaeve questions why Shuriam happened to be there and receives a scolding. Shuriam suggests they leave the novice area for Nynaeve's room while she cleans up the mess. Before they leave, Egwene remembers the crossbow bolt and hurries back to retrieve it before Shuriam can see it, but it is gone. While Egwene is gone, Nynaeve questions Shuriam some more and gets into more trouble. As they leave, Nynaeve points out that Shuriam did not wonder who might have stabbed the Grey Man. Chapter 16, Hunters 3. Elaine is waiting in Nynaeve's room with Gawain and Galad when Egwene and Nynaeve arrive. Egwene thinks again how handsome Galad is. They have been worried over the absence of Egwene, Elaine, and maybe even Nynaeve. The men ask them where they went but receive no answer. They say that Morgase ordered them to bring Elaine home after Elaine finishes training. They offer their help whenever the women want it. Nynaeve finally forces them to leave by threatening to report them to their arms master. Gawain is besotted with Egwene, Elaine says, but defers to Galad since Galad saved his life once. Galad will never do anything against the rules, which Elaine views as being horrid. Nynaeve tells Elaine what the Amerlin told them, starting with the Black Aja and their task to hunt them. She also tells her about the Grey Man that almost killed her and Egwene. Nynaeve says the Amerlin may let Mat die. Aes Sedai may view all of them as tools, and sometimes tools break. Nynaeve decides that she may need to try healing Mat herself and brings out her herbs. They discuss linking to increase the power of the healing. Just as they are about to leave to try, the door bangs open and Elida walks in. Chapter 17, The Red Sister. Elida comes into the room and acts very arrogantly to Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine. She asks if they know of the Black Aja, and the girls confirm that they do. She asks where they have been so she can protect them from being linked to Liandrin and the other sisters that fled the tower. The girls decline to disclose where they have been, with Nynaeve claiming that the Amerlin had told them not to disclose it. Elida shifts the conversation to ask about Rand. As Nynaeve ponders how to answer, the door opens again and Shuriam walks in. Shuriam wants all three of them to go with her and faces Elida down so that she leaves. Nynaeve asks about the Grey Man, so Shuriam realizes they have told Elaine despite orders to tell no one. She repeats that they are not to speak of it except to the Amerlin. She says the healing of someone brought to the tower is always done in the presence of those who brought him. They are to follow her to Mat's healing. Chapter 18, Healing. Egwene notices that Shuriam is leading them in the lower levels of the tower where Angreal are kept and the room where novices and accepted are tested. Among the 10 Aes Sedai there for the healing includes the Amerlin, Lean, Varen, Seraphel, Shuriam, Alana, Ania, and Brendis. Using Vora's Angreal and combining powers, the Amerlin leads the circle as they attempt to heal Mat, who lies on a table in the middle of the room. Egwene realizes how foolish it was for them to think they could heal Mat by themselves when 10 Aes Sedai and this powerful Angreal are needed. Matt appears to be fighting against the breaking of bond to the ruby-hilted dagger. Egwene is worried that they are killing him, but Nynaeve says they have no choice but to trust the Aes Sedai. Matt shouts words of the old tongue, and Egwene does not know what he says, except that it is a battle cry of Manetheren. Anya puts the dagger into a heavy box, and Matt collapses. The Amerlin exhales and says it is over. Varen and Seraphel begin discussing the words he spoke in the old tongue. Brendis is asked to get Matt back to his rooms. The girls are led off to the kitchens to begin their punishment chores. Chapter 19, Awakening. Matt awakens and cannot tell if the thoughts of battles and Moraine are dreams. Everything is bits and fragments. He thinks of a battle where he is giving commands and knows that he must win or die. Matt does not know if this is real, but he is known as a gambler. Matt remembers Moraine and knows something of Shadar Logoth, and a dagger. Something about going to Tar Valon to be healed. Matt finds the tray with enough food to feed 4 men and realizes how hungry he is. He first has to find out where he is though. It must be Tar Valon since that is the only place he could be healed. They used the power on him, but he can't worry about that now, it's done and it's better than dying. Matt tries to work out how he can come out ahead during a stay in Tar Valon. He wonders what Rand is up to. As he ponders on his situation and thinks about his friends, he finds that he has eaten all of the food that was laid out. He decides that a bit of gambling to fill his purse followed by a quick exit is his best course of action. He would like to talk Egwene and Nynaeve out of becoming Aes Sedai but doubts he will be able to. Suddenly he remembers that he blew the horn of Valir, and that Aes Sedai are not likely to let him scamper off. There is a knock at the door, and it begins to open. Chapter 20, Visitations. Selene visits Matt in his room. He swears he's seen her before, but he can't place it. He dismisses it as surely he would remember such a beautiful woman. Matt asks if she is Aes Sedai or even a novice and she laughs. She tells him that he could be great and that the Aes Sedai will try to use him. Matt says the Aes Sedai cannot be interested in him, a simple countryman just trying to see a bit of the world before returning to his father's farm. Matt asks if she is a dark friend but she says she is no follower of Baalzamon. She follows no one, although she could stand beside one. Much of what she tells Matt is cryptic and he doesn't understand her meaning. She tells him that he needs to trust her. She reveals that his father Abel and Rand's father Tam came to the city looking for him. Will the Aes Sedai tell him that? Selene begins to use the power on Matt, but suddenly hears something and stops. She tells him that many people are after Matt and want to kill him. She alone can guarantee him safety, but he must do as she says. Then she glides out of the room. Matt decides to inventory his resources for departing as soon as possible. He finds his clothes and dice cup, but not very many coins. Suin and Lean come in and tell him the guards have his description and are not to allow him to leave the island. Matt asks why the Aes Sedai want to hold him, but Suin says they are not sure he will not need more healing. He will also need to eat huge amounts of food for days yet. Matt brings up his father, and eventually Suin admits that his father did come to Tar Valon, but that was a while ago, and she doesn't mention that Tam came also. Suin sends Lean out of the room to bring Matt more food. Then she warns Matt that he should be careful with what he says, even around people like Lean. Suin asks him about the Horn of Valir and Matt finally admits he remembers blowing the horn. She tells him he is now linked to the horn and the only one that can summon the heroes as long as he lives. Matt realizes that the Amerlin could have let him die so that someone else could blow the horn for her. He realizes that he will need to be at the last battle to blow the horn for the cause of the light. She warns him that he must not let anyone know about his link to the horn. Everyone wants the horn and especially forces of the shadow. Anyone wanting to harness the power of the horn will want to kill him. Tar Valon is the safest place for him to be. The Amerlin leaves and Matt thinks about everything Suin and Selene said to him. Both of them want to use him. He feels the need to get away from the Amerlin, Aes Sedai in general, Selene, and avoid dark friends. He just needs to come up with a way to do all of that. Chapter 21, A World of Dreams. Egwene is summoned to Varen's study while doing chores in the kitchen. On her way she sees a flash of white that might have been a novice or accepted. Varen's front room is cluttered with maps, sky charts, books, scrolls, and even an owl to take care of mice. Varen also has a collection of bones and skulls, including one of a Trolloc. Varen reads from a very old manuscript page written by Rosal of Assam that links Baalzamon to Ishamel. Varen provides Egwene with all of the information about Liandrin and the other Black Aja Aes Sedai, including information on the Terngriel that were stolen. Egwene ponders the possibility of Varen being Black Aja herself but dismisses it. She has known Varen for a while now and thinks well of her. Varen mentions Ania's tests on Egwene's dreams, which are inconclusive so far, and explains that the last recorded dreamer in the tower was Corianine Needle. From what Varen read in the records, though, Corianine barely deserved the label. Varen begins a lecture to Egwene on the world of dreams. There are many possible worlds, some of which can be reached by the portal stones, but they are all linked by the world of dreams, Teleran Riot. Although there are countless different worlds, there is only one creator and one dark one. If the dark one is freed in one, he is free in all. Varen explains that a dreamer can enter Teleran Riot. Egwene may find out eventually whether she can do that, but Varen notes that time is of the essence because of the urgency of finding the Black Aja. Any tool that may be of use should be harnessed if possible. Varen thinks Ania brings girls along too slowly, and she brings out a Terngriel to give to Egwene. It is the twisted stone ring that Corianine Needle kept in her possession. Corianine wrote that it would let anyone, with or without talent, to enter the world of dreams, as long as the user sleeps with it touching their skin. Varen warns that the world of dreams is dangerous as what happens there is real. She shows Egwene a scar from a wound that she sustained there which could not be fully healed. Egwene promises to be careful and considers whether she is better off not touching the Terngriel at all. Varen reminds Egwene that novices or accepted are not supposed to have Terngriel in their possession, so she must keep it hidden. After Egwene's departure, Varen gathers Corianine's notes, which she decided not to pass on to Egwene. As far as she knows, no other living Aes Sedai knows about the dream Terngriel. Egwene is not ready to see the notes yet, but perhaps later. Chapter 22 The Price of the Ring. Shirayam meets Egwene as she is returning from Varen's quarters. She is to be tested for accepted. Elaine has already finished her test. Egwene protests that it is late and she is tired, but Shirayam says that it has been ordered by the Amerlin and cannot be changed. The test is performed by the novice going through each of 3 arches in the Silver Arches Terngriel. The novice is presented with fears from her past, present, and future which she needs to overcome in order to prove her dedication to becoming Aes Sedai. Shirayam says that novices have 3 chances to take the test and tells Egwene that she could take her first refusal, but the Amerlin would not be pleased. Elida does not think Egwene should be tested, but Shirayam points out that Elida did not feel the same reluctance when it was Elaine to be tested. Shirayam warns Egwene of the dangers of the test and tells her to be steadfast. Women have entered the arches without coming out. Egwene worries about leaving the papers she received from Varen and the twisted stone ring where one of the Aes Sedai might find them. But she has already agreed to take the test, and it is too late. Alan expresses concern that there is resonance coming from the Terngriel, but they decide to proceed with the testing. The Aes Sedai say the ceremonial words and Shirayam warns her that the way back will come but once. She must be steadfast. In the first ring, Egwene sees her husband Rand and her daughter Joya. Egwene is still training as an apprentice wisdom under Nynaeve. Rand says there is war with people called Sharkin or something like that. The Two Rivers doesn't get much news. Rand begins to get a headache, which Egwene has noticed usually means something strange will happen in the area, like sudden storms. Just as she is getting ready to try to heal Rand's headache, the Silver Arch appears and she goes through reluctantly even as Rand calls out for her. Just like all the other novices who took the test, Egwene asks Shirayam whether it was real, but nobody knows. The women who did not come out of the arch may have believed it real and remained. The second time, she sees the ruins of the royal palace of Ander. A murderer walks down the street toward her and gives orders to Trollocs and dark friends. They are searching for someone. Egwene goes into the palace, walking through the rubble. She finds Rand in the rubble, pinned under a column. She does not have the skill to shift all of the rubble safely. Rand says that he could shift it, but he would no longer be able to hold his madness at bay. He asks her to save him by killing him with a dagger, but she cannot. He is worried that the murderer will find him and turn him to the shadow. The silver arch appears again and Egwene goes through it even as Rand yells for her to help him. Egwene asks Shuriam if someone can be turned to the shadow by force. Shuriam says it is customary not to speak of what happens in the arches. Egwene persists and is eventually told that channelers can be turned to the shadow using 13 Dreadlords and 13 Myrtle. Egwene remembers that exactly 13 Aes Sedai are in Liandrin's group of Black Aja. After going through the last arch, Egwene finds herself the Amyrlin. Her keeper is Beldine from the Green Aja, which means Egwene was green before being raised. Egwene's thoughts are in turmoil from things she remembers, from things she doesn't remember, and from things that she remembers that seem to be wrong. The words from Shuriam, that the way back will come but once and that she must be steadfast, cannot be fully remembered. Rand is brought to her in chains and she is told by Elida, her main rival, to sentence him to be gentled. When she refuses, she is knocked unconscious by Beldine. She awakens to find herself surrounded by 13 Myrddraal and 13 of the Black Aja. She channels her way free and runs through the tower back to her study. She finds Beldine there, who apologizes for her betrayal and explains that the Black Aja took her during the night and stilled her. They promise to make her whole again with the power of the Dark One if she cooperated. Beldine tells her that Rand is being held at the traitor's court, and Egwene rushes to help him. Beldine questions what she can do, but Egwene says that she has never held the oath rod. She finds Rand surrounded by Aes Sedai led by Elida wearing the 7-striped stole. She is about to start an attack to free him when the silver arch appears. Suddenly she remembers the words from Shuriam again. She hears voices from outside the Terngrial, from the real Aes Sedai outside in the testing chamber. The Aes Sedai are in a furor and say they cannot hold the Terngrial much longer, but Sun yells at them to hold on or she will have their hides. Egwene jumps through the arch. Chapter 23, Sealed. Egwene steps out of the third arch, angry at the repeated need for her to abandon Rand in the Terngrial. She looks up and sees the Amyrlin and the other Aes Sedai. She realizes not all is as it should be. 2 of the Aes Sedai near the Terngrial are sweating. Shuriam immediately delves her and surprisingly finds that Egwene is unharmed. Sun completes the ceremony and announces that Egwene is now an accepted of the White Tower. She is no longer of Emond's Field. She is now sealed to the tower. Sun welcomes her and addresses her as daughter rather than child. Sun tells Shuriam to make sure that Egwene is all right and to investigate what happened before going to speak with the other Aes Sedai. Egwene puts on an accepted's dress and waits for Elida to hand her back her belongings. The twisted stone ring Terngrial is still there and the papers about the Black Aja. She cannot tell if anyone has looked at the papers. Elida is still displeased with Egwene and says she is a wilder at heart and will never have a proper place in the White Tower. Elida then turns and leaves the chamber. Egwene asks Shuriam what happened, but Shuriam does not know. Alanna comes over and admits that she should have stopped the test when she noticed the resonance. Later in the test it came back stronger than ever and seemed to want to shut off the flow of Saidar to the Terngrial. Egwene would have been lost had they lost that flow. It also seemed that the Terngrial almost melted. Alanna volunteers to share in Egwene's punishments for failing to halt the testing, which Shuriam dismisses as ridiculous. Alanna recalls a similar incident years ago, when 2 Terngrial related to each other were used in the same room. The Terngrial melted together, and gave all the sisters in the room terrible headaches lasting for a week. This causes Egwene to realize the resonance came from the twisted stone ring interfering with the silver arches. Because Egwene had apparently chosen the Green Aja in her viewed future, she questions Alanna about what it means to be green. Alanna is incredibly pleased and says that the Green Aja stands ready to do battle at Tarmon Gaidan. The Amyrlin allows her a visit to Shuriam for punishment, but will not allow her to do chores in the kitchen. Egwene does not want to be alone after the trials of her test, and so heads to Nynaeve's room. Elaine is there also, and has been crying since due to her own testing. Nynaeve's eyes are also damp. Seeing Elaine's emotion causes Egwene to let hers out also. Nynaeve comforts them both and vows that one day they will make the Aes Sedai pay for their treatment of them. Chapter 24: Scouting and Discoveries. Mat wakes and immediately begins thinking about how to leave Tar Valon. He is still gaunt but beginning to look better already. After eating a tray of food brought to him by servants, Mat exits the main tower to begin scouting. He chats with soldiers and guards on the tower grounds and finds out there are white cloaks on both sides of the river. One of them is a bridge guard and recognizes Mat from the descriptions the Aes Sedai gave him. Mat wanted to test how thoroughly his description had been circulated, too thoroughly as it turns out. He encounters Else Grinwell and asks if she remembers him. She says he is not supposed to be out, and seems harsher than he remembers. He continues on to the training grounds, watching warders and trainees practice. He finds pebbles and sits down to watch them, juggling the pebbles. He realizes he is watching Gawain and Galad and remembers the stories Elaine told of them on the trip from Falme. He offers a wager to spar both of them at the same time. They feel it would be unfair to Mat, but Hammer, their teacher, says he will cover the bet if they won't. After Mat insists again, they agree to the wager. Mat says it's time to toss the dice, except he accidentally says it in Old Tongue, which Hammer recognizes. The fight begins and Galad rushes at him. Mat smoothly lands blows on both men a couple times before quickly knocking Gawain out of the fight. Galad recovers and Mat knows he needs to win quickly before he weakens too much. Mat attacks furiously with Galad parrying all his blows until Mat expends his last bit of energy to land 4 quick hits. Mat seems to be in a battle trance, and almost instinctively lands a killing blow on Galad's throat, but he stops himself. Galad can no longer stand and Hammer declares Mat the winner. He recounts the story of Jiram, the greatest swordsman ever whose only loss was to a farmer with a quarterstaff. The Aes Sedai and accepted all rush to look at Galad's injuries. Mat leans on his staff heavily, and is close to falling over with exhaustion. Gawain comes over, having been healed, and gives him the 2 marks that were wagered. Mat apologizes for injuring Galad. Hammer covers Galad's wager since he is being tended to by the Aes Sedai. Hammer asks Mat where he is from and Mat says Manetheren. After pausing for a beat, he corrects himself and says the 2 rivers. Mat takes his leave quickly before he can be asked any awkward questions. He keeps the quarterstaff and uses it as a walking stick to drag himself back to his room. Chapter 25: Questions. Egwene, Nynaeve and Elaine are conducting their investigation into the Black Aja in Nynaeve's room. Elaine is reading the notes they received from Varen while Nynaeve paces in the room. Egwene had a restless night, sleeping with many dreams and nightmares. She is reluctant to speak to Anya about them now because she feels any Aes Sedai could be Black Aja. She did learn from Anya months before that a dreamer's dreams about Ta'veren are basically always significant. She is trying to sort out if some of the dreams have meaning. Shan-Chan collaring a long line of women who wore great serpent rings and forcing them to attack the White Tower. White cloaks binding her father's hands. Rand reaching for a crystal sword while a net descends on him. Rand kneeling while many little dragons settle onto his skin. Rand walking into a hole in a mountain. Rand confronting the Shan-Chan. Perrin with a female falcon on his shoulder. Perrin with a female hawk trying to leash him. Perrin with a beard leading a huge pack of wolves. Mat placing his left eye on a balance scale. Mat hanging by his neck from a tree limb. Mat and Shan-Chan. Mat speaking the Old Tongue. Nynaeve is frustrated that there is nothing useful in Varen's notes. Nynaeve tells Elaine to stop wasting her time, but Elaine just points out that they are all accepted now and Nynaeve cannot order her. Elaine says they have no pattern in their birthdays, names, Ajas or nationalities. The sisters are evenly distributed with 2 in each Aja and Liandrin as the only red. This means there is a pattern in no pattern, and that there must be more Black Aja still in the tower. There must be an extended number of Black Aja in order for them to be able to choose such an even distribution. Nynaeve agrees and compliments Elaine on her deduction. They also have the list of the stolen Terngriel. Many have to do with dreaming and were last studied by Corianine Needle. A clear crystal rod, 1 foot long and 1 inch in diameter, use unknown. An alabaster figurine of an unclothed woman 1 hand tall, use unknown. An iron disc 3 inches in diameter with spirals engraved on both sides, use unknown. A wooden carving of a hedgehog the size of a man's thumb that makes one go to sleep. A fluted black rod of stone a pace long that produces bale fire. A carved cluster of 6 spotted dice that warps chance. They continue to wonder if the Aes Sedai they are in contact with might be Black Aja. Naturally, they think it is unlikely that the Aes Sedai they like are dark friends. They discuss the probability that Varen genuinely missed the obvious pattern that so many of the Terengrial were last studied by Corianin. They agree that Alana's behavior at the end of Egwene's testing was truly peculiar. They decide they will detail their suspicions to the Amerlin but will let her draw the conclusions. Nynaeve wants to use the twisted stone ring that night, but Egwene takes the ring, saying that she is the dreamer and will be the one to use it. Else Grinwell comes into their room without knocking and probably heard some of the things they were discussing. She seemed to be looking at the dream Terengrial. She has a message from the Amerlin that the belongings of Liandrin and her companions are in a storeroom. They are startled by Elsa's apparent knowledge of their task and decide it is necessary to talk to her about it. Egwene runs after Else, and sees flashes of her white dress as she follows. But then she runs into a beautiful woman in silver and white who she assumes is an Aes Sedai she does not recognize. This woman apparently knows about the murders in the tower too. Egwene asks whether she has seen Else, and the woman notes, Else ran away quite quickly, and is unlikely to be found now. She then tells Egwene to leave her be, and Egwene starts going back to her room before she realizes what is happening. When she stops herself and turns back, the hallway is empty. She checks several more hallways, but Else and the woman are nowhere to be found. Chapter 26 Behind a Lock. Egwene begins opening doors in the hall where Else and the woman in white disappeared. Elaine and Nynaeve catch up to her, and Elaine is surprised that Else could outrun Egwene. Nynaeve says they will have to find Else later and warn her to be quiet about Liandrin and the storeroom. Egwene says she is not looking for Else but someone tall and striking with black eyes and hair. Nynaeve says they need to go to the storeroom before Else can gossip to anyone about it, and leads them to the storerooms below the library. It is very dark in the depths of the tower, and Elaine and Egwene channel the power for balls of light. They arrive at the described room, but the door is chained closed with a lock. Nynaeve works to make herself angry so she can channel, and creates a big pry bar with the power to break the chain. But Egwene has already broken the chain with earth, and Nynaeve almost falls over when the chain falls apart easily. They enter the storeroom and see 13 bags, all tied and labeled. Egwene intuits how to tie off her ball of light weave and hangs it on the wall. Egwene does not know how she did it. After a moment, Elaine copies it, and in doing so Egwene sees her do it and learns how it was done. This circular learning spooks Egwene a bit. They begin going through the belongings, which are mostly old clothes. In one bag is a torn map of Tyr. Another contains a book on the Tyrant Court. More items scattered about include ship schedules to Tyr, another book about Tyr, sketches of Tyrant buildings and lists of inns in the city. Everyone left something about Tyr behind. Nynaeve says it is bait or a trap, or they meant it to be obvious. Tonight Egwene will explore the world of dreams to see if more can be learned. Chapter 27 Teleran Riot. Egwene, Elaine and Nynaeve are gathered in Egwene's room after their chores. While they were in the kitchens, Varen, Alana, Elida, Shuriam and Ania all stop in on errands of their own, but may also have been checking on one or more of the three. Egwene makes her preparations to enter the Teleran Riot. She ties a leather strip through the twisted stone ring so that when worn about the neck, the ring will touch her skin. She lays down, and Nynaeve begins to hum. Egwene thinks of home, of Rand, of Perrin, and she falls asleep. She is in a field of flowers, wearing a dress of her favorite color. She tries to channel and finds that she can. She takes a step and is suddenly standing outside an inn. The door opens and sees Perrin sleeping in a chair chained, but he is holding the chains as if to chain himself. A wolf is on the floor next to him. Egwene is alarmed at the wolf and yells at Perrin to wake up. Perrin wakes up and yells at Hopper to stop, then the inn's door closes and there is total darkness. Egwene then finds herself outside and Rand is there by a campfire. Rand accuses her of being shadow spawn masquerading as Egwene and implies that others, including someone he only refers to as her, have come to him in his dreams and tried to kill him. Egwene tries to talk to Rand and angrily channels air to hold Rand still, but Rand breaks the flows. Rand channels a sword and attacks her, so she flees. She is suddenly back in the field of flowers. Then she grabs the twisted stone ring around her neck and talks to it. She shuts her eyes and tells the ring to take her where she needs to be to find out what the Black Aja wants. Egwene opens her eyes and finds she is in Tyr, in the heart of the stone with Calendar. An old woman named Sylvie is there, who speaks to Egwene as if she is an old servant of Egwene's family. Sylvie says the heart of the stone is a good place to be for answers. Sylvie calls Ashamel a fool, which startles Egwene, but Sylvie plays it off as mocking the forces of the shadow. Sylvie explains that Calendar is the sword that can only be touched by the Dragon Reborn. Egwene cautiously inspects the wards set around the sword with the power, and realizes powerful weaves of both Sadar and Satan were used. Sylvie grumbles that someone is coming to stare at the sword again, and warns Egwene to leave, but she doesn't know how. Egwene tries talking to the ring again, but the ring does not respond to commands to take her to places. Sylvie puts her arms around Egwene and ushers Egwene away from Calendar. Then suddenly Sylvie grabs the ring, telling Egwene that she will tuck her in bed. Egwene wakes up painfully but finds no wounds on her. Egwene decides that next time they will set a time for her to be woken up. Egwene tells Elaine and Nynaeve of her journey. They decide that Calendar in Tyr is where the trap for them is at, and they must go to spring it, and hopefully not get caught. Since the Amerlin has not come to speak to them, Nynaeve decides that they have the right to decide themselves. Elaine realizes she must get a letter to her mother, otherwise there will be more trouble between Ender and Tar Valon. They will wait one more day to give a final opportunity for the Amerlin to check in with them. Nynaeve suddenly remembers Matt and decides he would be the perfect messenger for Elaine's letter. Chapter 28 A Way Out. Matt is having a snack when Elaine, Nynaeve, and Egwene come to visit and ask how he is. The women are smiling too much, which makes Matt suspicious of their visit. Nynaeve admits they have come to ask him to do a favor for them. Elaine gives Matt her best pretty little girl look and says she wants him to carry a letter for her, to her mother. Matt asks what he will get out of it. Elaine then tries to make it a favor he should do for the daughter heir, but that doesn't work either. Egwene says he doesn't do things for other people if there's nothing in it for him. Nynaeve starts berating him and points out that they took care of him on the way to Tar Valon, and he owes them. Matt decides to stop teasing them and admits that he cannot leave the city. If they can fix that, he'll be happy to carry the letter. They confer near the window, then give him one of their letters from the Amerlin to get him past the guards to leave the city. Matt asks them for money to help with the cost of the trip, but they have none to spare. He says he will manage and promises a few more times that he will see the letter delivered. With the issues about the trip settled, they talk about home. Matt then thanks them sincerely and promises to help them should they need it. They leave and Matt does a small dance of glee. Chapter 29 A Trap to Spring. Nynaeve, Elaine, and Egwene are all working on roasts in the kitchen. Nynaeve is bitter about being ordered around by Laris, the chief cook and unofficial mistress of the kitchens. She puts up with being ordered by Aes Sedai because she needs to learn about channeling to get back at Moraine, but having to submit to Laris as well is too much. Elaine is not happy either and considers bringing down the might of Ender on Laris. The Amerlin enters the kitchens and makes as if she is here to inspect the work. She stares at the workers as though they are not working hard enough. Even Laris is affected and starts working too. The Amerlin pauses near the three but looks away from them. She accuses Elaine of using foul language to send her out of the kitchens. Egwene does not realize the ploy and jumps to Elaine's defense, so Sun is forced to send her away too. Sun wanted to speak with Egwene and Nynaeve but ends up with Nynaeve only. Sun talks with Nynaeve and says she was going to have them brought to her study in the afternoon to discuss their studies. She cannot check on them every day because it would be suspicious for their association to be too close. She could not wait though because another grey man, a female one, was found dead in Shuriam's bed. Nynaeve mentions that Shur-Im could have looked at the Black Aja notes during Egwene's accepted testing, but Elida did as well. Nynaeve gives information about what they found in the storeroom. Nynaeve does not tell her of Egwene's trip to Tel'aran Riad or the twisted stone ring Terengriel, as she does not entirely trust Suin or really any other Aes Sedai. Suin says she did not send a message about the storeroom. Else was sent home 10 days ago, and the belongings of the Black Aja were actually searched and then burned, so what was in the storeroom was fake. Nynaeve is chilled by the thought that anyone she speaks to could be Liandrin or another Black Aja sister, since impersonations are apparently possible. This clearly makes Terra a trap, but they will have to proceed anyway. Suin says she will let it be rumored that they have been sent to work at a farm as punishment to serve as an alibi. She will leave gold in their rooms for their trip. Nynaeve admits that Elaine will be leaving also. Suin could not ask Elaine directly since she wouldn't be able to lie to Elaine's mother about what she knows. Nynaeve asks about Calendar, and the Amerlin says it is a Esangriel, and only 2 others are more powerful. The Black Aja cannot be allowed to have it. Nynaeve retorts that the Black Aja cannot touch it, which is true, but Suin mentions that they could be after the cache of Terengriel in the Stone of Tyr, which rivals that in the tower. Suin looks at the frenzy she has caused in the kitchen and decides she'll have to make it up to Laris. Nynaeve thinks Laris deserves it, but Suin tells her that Laris actually went to Shur-Im to demand to know when the harsh punishment for the 3 would end. Laris had been given instructions to give them the hardest tasks, and would not continue it so long that it would break their spirits. When Laris returns, Suin compliments her and declares that she will make Mistress of the Kitchens her official title. Elaine and Egwene return and complain about their punishment from Laris. Elaine apparently had her mouth washed with soap for her alleged foul language. They beg Nynaeve to give them good news, and Nynaeve tells them that they will be leaving after kitchen cleanup is done. Nynaeve hopes that they are not walking into a trap that they cannot get out of. Chapter 30 The First Toss. After the girls leave, Mat immediately sets about planning his escape from Tar Valon. He eats as much food as possible and asks for extra to hoard for his trip. He asks for less perishable foods such as bread, cheese, and fruit, and hides it all in the wardrobe. Anya visits him at midday and says he is well after delving him, but seems aware he is asking for more food than he needs. He mentions to her that he plans to visit an inn in the city as entertainment. Anya says he is free to do that but won't be able to leave the city. It is early evening by the time he is actually able to leave. He bundles up the food and takes everything with him, including the quarterstaff which he uses as a walking stick. It is obvious to everyone that he is planning a journey, but nobody stops him because they are confident that he will be stopped by the guards. He decides it is best to make a show of it so that the Aes Sedai will expect him to fail spectacularly, and in so doing wait longer before they begin a search for him. He plans to board a ship heading toward Tyr, but will get off at Erangil before going overland to Camelin to deliver Elaine's letter to Morghese. But first he needs some money to finance the trip and heads to an inn for gambling. Mat remembers always coming out ahead at dice, but tonight he is winning every toss no matter the game, however many dice or whose dice they were. Someone says that he has the Dark One's own luck, which is a common phrase, but Mat reacts violently and pushes the fellow against the wall. Mat says fervently that he is no dark friend and begins to wonder whether the ruby-hilted dagger did something to him that caused this outrageous luck. Preoccupied with this thought, he leaves the inn quickly and does not even collect his winnings from the last wager. He pauses in the street and thinks about it, and remembers that his luck did seem to markedly improve after he took the dagger from Shadar Logoth. Maybe the Aes Sedai did it by accident when healing him. He checks his pockets, which are overflowing with gold and silver, and he has 2 full purses besides. A fat man comes out from a nearby tavern and seems startled to see Mat. The man mumbles to himself repeatedly and appears drunk as he walks away. Mat, suddenly feeling hungry and running out of food, decides it is past time to find a ship to take him downriver. As Mat makes his way toward the harbor, he hears footsteps following behind, which he assumes are footpads. He ducks into a shadowed corner and readies his staff to attack the following men should they come closer, but they stop only a few paces away from him. The 2 men are holding knives and stop to talk to each other. One of them says that he has seen nothing and wishes to be done with this. Both turn and leave, which makes Matt feel that his luck helped again. He decides to try moving over the rooftops to avoid the men in the street. After traveling a ways, he decides it is safe enough to get back down. He jumps down to a walkway bridge 4 stories above the pavement. He suddenly finds a man on the bridge with a dagger going for his throat. He stumbles and ends up half hanging over the bridge, trying frantically to stop the dagger from touching him. Matt exclaims, "Time to toss the dice," which confuses the other man. Using the brief moment of confusion, Matt throws himself off the walkway, pulling the assassin with him. Matt lands on top and finds the assassin dead with the dagger in his heart. His luck helps him yet again. The man seemed to be very ordinary looking, hardly noticeable. He decides he needs to rest a bit before finding a ship, so he heads for a nearby inn, the Woman of Tanchico. Chapter 31, The Woman of Tanchico. Tom is performing atop a table as Matt walks into the inn. Tom looks sad, which surprises Matt. Matt sits down and orders a drink for himself and one for Tom. Tom finishes his story and stumbles toward Matt's table. He sits with Matt and complains that the patrons want his stories in common rather than plain chant or high chant. Matt has never seen Tom drunk like this, and he always used to put his harp away right after playing. At least he is still complaining about his audience. 2 maids come over, Mata and Saul, and the women try to get Tom to rest and sleep. Tom has already emptied his tankard. Tom talks about the beautiful women he's had in his life, Morgase and Dina. He is clearly depressed over the death of Dina and blames himself. Matt is hungry and orders several chickens. Tom wants more drink, but the women refuse and insist he eats some chicken instead. Matt and Tom talk a bit about Rand, and Tom mentions his regret that Moraine is an Aes Sedai. Matt asks what Tom is doing in Tarvalon, as he had heard that Tom was doing well for himself in Carrion. Mention of Carrion makes Tom think of Dina again, and he regrets the trouble that can result from killing a man. Matt tries to get Tom to come out of his stupor while devouring his 3 chickens. Eventually he convinces Tom to go to Camelin with him. Having renewed purpose, Tom gets up to gather his belongings and is no longer stumbling. Matt wonders if he has time to order another chicken, but Tom returns quickly. Saul tells Matt she is very happy to see Tom's uplifted spirits, and even gives him a silver mark in gratitude. As they leave the inn, Matt notices that the corpse of the man he killed is gone, but the guards are not present to investigate. Matt mutters about footpads, and Tom tells him there are no footpads in Tarvalon, as the Aes Sedai make it very unpleasant to be a thief. Matt wonders who was following him earlier. Matt decides they will catch the first ship heading downriver, even if it is sinking. Chapter 32, The First Ship. Matt and Tom arrive at South Harbor just as a ship, the Grey Gull, is unfastening its mooring lines. Matt told Tom he intended to catch the first ship, and that is the ship. A dockmaster attempts to stop Matt due to the Aes Sedai orders, but Matt has the letter from the Amerlin given to him by Elaine. Tom is confused as to why Matt would be refused so. The dockmaster is even more confused by the apparent contradiction presented by the letter, but accepts it and tries to get the ship to wait. The ship is underway, so they have to jump to land on the ship's deck. The ship's captain, Juan Malia, is angry and calls on 2 of his crew to toss them back into the harbor. Matt uses gold and the letter to secure passage to Erangel. Tom is enraged by the price demanded by the captain and starts to negotiate passage in exchange for his services. Matt wants a cabin and the captain's meals, though. Malia says they can have his cabin and meals for 5 gold each, believing no one would pay that, and then is astounded when Matt calmly starts counting gold coins into his hand. Malia asks if Matt is a lord, which Matt denies. As they get their things into the cabin, they listen to the captain, who is trying to pump them for information. The captain is convinced that Matt is an Andorran lord who is carrying out some mission for Queen Morgase involving Tarvalon. Malia is Tyran and speaks highly of the High Lords of Tyr, and especially the High Lord Saemon. He is contemptuous of Mayene and Elian, as most Tyran are. He expresses contempt for Tarvalon too, because Saemon says the Aes Sedai must all be killed and the White Tower destroyed. Then he realizes what he had just said and backtracks, not wanting to offend Matt. Matt goes with it and mocks him, which causes Malia to leave the cabin. Matt tells Tom about winning the gold at dice using others' dice, the letter from the Merlin, the letter from Elaine to Morgase, and Tom doesn't believe a word of it. Tom goes to sleep, but Matt lies awake pondering the events of the last couple of days. Matt realizes Nynaeve, Egwene, and Elaine must be involved in some plot from the Merlin if they had that letter to give him. He hears feet outside the cabin door and fights two men that come into the cabin, killing them with the quarterstaff. Matt takes one of the dead men's cloak to disguise himself, and goes up onto the deck. Matt walks up to a man at the tiller, and claims to the man that their target is dead. The man is happy that this boy is dead, and Matt recognizes the voice from the Tar Valon alley. Then the man realizes Matt is not one of his party, but it is too late as Matt strikes with his staff, cracking him in the head. Tom throws a knife to kill another man that Matt didn't see. Tom points to a dropped lantern and notes that they were lucky it did not set the ship on fire. Two more men are left in a boat tied to the stern. They shriek, recognizing Matt, and dive into the river to swim away. The captain comes on deck furious. Tom says they saved the ship from river brigands, so perhaps he should reconsider their price for passage. Malia looks at the dead men and considers that maybe Matt is an assassin, having killed so many. Rand is playing Rose of the Morning on his flute. This was song he played at weddings, oh so many weddings. People had told him that he is ta'veren, and maybe it is true. Maybe he had caused the weddings. People had told him that he is the Dragon Reborn too, but that doesn't make it true. He wonders about the dreams he has. In them people he knows come and try to kill him, including his father and mother and Min. He knows it was not actually Min. Min would never hurt him. Selene also came to him in the dreams, telling him that he must take Calendar. Are the dreams real? He remembers a dream where Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine are being pushed into cages and wonders why he feels more concerned for Elaine than the other two. He continues playing the flute through the night instead of sleeping, so that he cannot dream. Chapter 33, Within the Weave. Perrin is riding on the Lugard Road and sees bits of pavement. He sees a bit of a dog's footprint on one of the stones but nothing on the dirt. Along with Loyal, Moraine and Lan, they are pushing hard trying to catch up to Rand. Loyal doesn't even have time to read as they are riding anymore. They are approaching Remen on the Manatharendril. He thinks of his dreams, like the one with Hopper and Egwene. He intentionally makes himself sleep in bad positions so that he does not sleep deeply, to minimize dreams. Perrin recalls the various villages and towns they traveled through, seeing different events that happened in Rand's wake. The town Sidon burned completely to the ground when an uncontrollable fire started due to a dropped lantern in a barn. Past Sidon there were 4 towns unscathed, but then they found Rand's horse dead by the side of the road, apparently torn apart by wolves or wild dogs. The village of Willar afterwards was celebrating the rejuvenation of the spring on the village common. The village had been on the verge of abandonment due to lack of water. Past 3 more untouched villages, in Sameha, all the wells in the town had suddenly gone dry. In Talon, everyone erupted into arguments and 3 murders were committed before the people calmed down. Finally they passed Fjall where there had been an exceptionally poor harvest, but the mayor found a buried sack of gold coins minted by Manetheren, saving them from starvation. Perrin is disturbed by the bad things happening in Rand's wake, because Rand cannot be evil. So perhaps the pattern can sometimes be evil? Moraine says that the Creator is good and the Dark One is evil, but the pattern itself is neither good nor evil. They enter Remen and Perrin smells something vile, not a twisted one or Neverborn though. Then he berates himself for using the wolf terms for Trolloc and Myrtle. But he can't figure out what it was he smelled. In the town square an Ailman is hanging in a cage while children throw stones at him. They enter Wayland's forge, the inn where they will stay. Gaynor Furlan is the innkeeper and talks about recent events in town. There are hunters for the Horn of Valir and they are the ones who captured the Ailman. Perrin remembers that Min said an Ailman in a cage will be a turning point in his life. Perrin asks about the Ailman and Furlan says that Lord Orban and Lord Gan with 10 of their retainers fought 20 Ailmen, taking 1 prisoner. Orban comes over, rudely asking for Mother Lach to tend to Gan's wounds. Lan questions Orban on what happened and Orban confirms that 12 of them fought 20 Ale, losing 6 of their men. Orban claims to have killed all the ale save the one prisoner, and the ones who ran. Orban mentions that white cloaks are out searching for the ale who fled, which alarms Perrin since the white cloaks may be looking for him. Perrin feels a set of eyes on him and looks around. He notices a young woman, about his age, with shoulder-length black hair and a nose that is almost too large. She turns away just as he looks at her. Chapter 34, A Different Dance. Perrin wonders if the girl that was looking at him knows what yellow eyes mean. He can't figure out why she would be staring at him so. Gaynor Ferland shows Perrin, Loyal, Moraine, and Lan to their rooms. On the way he says someone is proclaiming the dragon in Gildan. From what he says, Lan and Perrin deduce that it is Massima. Moraine declares that it will not be a good time for Massima when she sees him next and angrily slams closed the door to her room. The inn even has an ogier bed for Loyal to use and it is made of sungwood. Perrin sits for a long time pondering the puzzle of the girl and comes to no conclusions other than regretting not stopping the children from throwing stones at the ale. So he goes to see Moraine to see if she can help. He knocks once and then enters. He is embarrassed to find her undressed, having just stepped out of the bath. She covers up with a robe and Perrin asks if Rand caused the events with the hunters and the ale. She does not think so, but Lan is still out investigating. Lan is trying to find out whether Rand crossed the river to continue to tear overland or took a ship to Ilion before continuing to tear. They themselves must take one of those two paths. Perrin can't believe that Rand is still maintaining his pace ahead of them without a horse, but Moraine says that Rand is descended from great runners and walkers, i.e. the ale. Perrin asks about the girl and suggests that perhaps she is interested in him because she is a dark friend, but Moraine just chuckles and says that she might just be attracted to him. Perrin decides to go outside and feels like someone is watching him. Perrin decides to lower the cage holding the ale and let him out. The ale, Gaul, tells Perrin that he is looking for he who comes with the dawn. Perrin knows Gaul is talking about Rand and says that he is on his way to Tear. Gaul realizes the truth of Perrin's words, saying that when the stone of Tear falls, the ale will leave the threefold land. A dozen or so children of the light see that the ale is out, and Gaul runs at them, veiled. Perrin joins the dance, and together they kill or disable all of them. Perrin regrets the savagery of the axe. Gaul explains that there was only one other ale with him, not 20 total as Lord Orban had claimed. Gaul wishes Perrin well and leaves for Tyr. As Perrin starts to head back to the inn, he sees the girl again that had been staring at him. She runs away before he can talk to her. Lan comes up and asks if the dead white cloaks are his work, and if anyone saw him. Lan tells Perrin to get the ogier and the horses and to meet at the docks. Chapter 35, The Falcon. Perrin follows Lan into the inn and tells Loyal that they are leaving while Lan informs Moraine. The stableman asks a lot of questions of Perrin when he asks for their horses. Lan comes in and flips the stableman a gold coin which stops all the questions. Loyal is reminded of the earlier times when they fled their enemies in the night and chased after dark friends. He admits that he is beginning to like adventuring. They ride the horses out of the town to the docks. Lan finds the captain of the Snow Goose, Jane Madara, and arranges passage for them including the horses. The boat is about to cast off when the black-haired girl jumps onto the deck, saying she will go where Perrin is going. The girl starts talking to him and mentions that she has been to Ilion before. She says that the townsfolk at Riemann thought that Gaul had chewed through the chain and nobody knows what he did. Despite his boasting, Orban is indeed an impressive fighter, as she had seen him take on 4 men and win. Perrin thinks it is odd for a girl to speak of fighting and killing. Perrin asks why she is following him. She says she was staring at Perrin because he is the only one she couldn't figure out. She knows Moraine is Aes Sedai, which makes Lan her warder. An ogier is just an ogier. She cannot figure out why he would be among such a group. Not only was his presence an oddity, he acted oddly freeing the ale and slaughtering white cloaks like it was nothing. That was all very strange, and as a hunter of the horn she feels it is a promising trail for her to follow. Perrin tries to give her some red herrings as to where the horn may be found to shake her off, but she will not be dissuaded. Perrin finally asks her name, and she replies Mandarb, which he laughs at. She angrily tells him that Mandarb means blade, but he tells her that Lan's horse is named Mandarb. She tells him that her real name is Zarin Bahir, but she hates the name Zarin. Perrin turns to go below when Zarin announces that she will call herself Fail, which means falcon. Perrin almost stumbles down the ladder after recalling Min's viewing. Chapter 36, Daughter of the Night. While thinking about Zarin, Perrin walks around on the snow goose searching for his cabin. When he falls asleep, he finds himself greeted by Hopper and Teleran Riot. Hopper guides him through a thick fog to a meeting of dark friends summoned there by Baalzamon. The dark friends are extremely startled at being summoned so in a dream. Baalzamon is annoyed that some of the tasks he gave the dark friends are not yet completed. As punishment, he kills the man who let Matt escape from Tarvalon, remarking that the man will never wake from his dream. Other dark friends identify themselves as men from Elian and Tyr. After he dismisses the other dark friends, Baalzamon is confronted by Lanfear. Lanfear expresses her annoyance at Baalzamon using the world of dreams which she claims as her domain. Baalzamon questions her loyalty, but Lanfear says that she has long served the great Lord of the Dark. They belittle each other's plans and accomplishments. The fog returns and Perrin and Hopper are alone again. Perrin realizes Lanfear is the same woman who appeared in his dream and urged him to glory. Perrin questions Hopper about his motives for showing this to him. Hopper only says that it was what he must see and warns him again to be wary before flying off. Perrin then accidentally stumbles upon Rand in Teleran Riot while he is killing Shadow Spawn. Rand, still believing the Dark One is trying to win him over in his dreams, attacks Perrin with lightning. This makes Perrin wake up with some minor injuries on his chest. For the first time in many days he finally falls into a deep sleep. When Perrin wakes in the morning he goes to Moraine and tells her about the dream. Perrin shows her the burn on his chest as proof. She tells him to be careful, as many in the Red Aja would think it is the work of male channeling and try to gentle him. He would not be harmed by an attempted gentling, but he would be treated roughly by the Red Aja and perhaps even killed before they realize their mistake. Perrin takes the dream as confirmation that Lanfear has escaped Sheol Ghul, if not the other Forsaken as well. Perrin questions Moraine what she will do about this news, but she is sticking to their plan of getting to Tyr, and will say no more. Perrin asks her to heal his wound from Rand's lightning, but she declines, saying it is not serious, and it will help him remember to be careful. Perrin also asks her what the name Zarin might mean, and Moraine replies that it is a Salbian name suitable for a great beauty who lies around on cushions surrounded by suitors. Meanwhile, Rand wakes up and realizes he has to be more careful in his dreams, realizing it was really Perrin and not some illusion. He is confronted by a female merchant, and her guards asking to share his camping spot. He assumes they are dark friends and quickly kills them with a heron sword made of fire. He leaves their bodies in a kneeling fashion, quipping that people should kneel to him if he is indeed the Dragon Reborn. He notices an 11th man when he only saw 10 before. The additional man has no armor, and wielded only a dagger. He takes one of their horses and rides off to Tyr. Chapter 37, Fires in Carrion. Edwayne is aboard the Blue Crane heading downriver on the Aranon towards Tyr. Edwayne has not seen a living person in any of the villages they passed, most of which were burned. The sailors bow to her, seeing her ring. Captain Chin Elisor is honored to have 3 Aes Sedai on his ship. Egwene recalls her dreams of Perrin, Rand, and Mat, and also one of Min Rand holding a sword that blazed like the sun. Rand threatened in a dozen ways, none of them the least bit real. Perrin with a wolf, a falcon, and a hawk, with the falcon and hawk fighting. Perrin running from someone deadly. Perrin stepping over the edge of a towering cliff. An ale related to Perrin. Min springing a trap but not getting caught. Mat with spinning dice around him. Mat being followed by a man who wasn't there. Mat riding desperately towards something unseen in the distance. Mat with a woman who seemed to be tossing fireworks, an illuminator. Men and women breaking out of a cage and putting on crowns. A woman playing with puppets with strings to greater puppets. Kings dying, queens weeping, battles raging. White cloaks ravaging the 2 rivers. Shan Chan. Her mother and father. Elaine comes over and feels pained over the devastation wrought by the Carrion civil war. Elaine speaks of recent history between Ander and Carrion. After the Ale War, the wars between Ander and Carrion stopped and Ander exported much grain to Carrion. Egwene says they can't worry about Carrion's people, they can't do anything about it, and have to figure out how to get into the Stone of Tyr. Egwene suddenly realizes that one of her dreams means that a grey man is after Matt. The ship suddenly stops, throwing them to the deck. Nynaeve comes up from below and surveys the status of the ship. Nynaeve says they hit a sunken ship and are stuck. The captain says a different ship should be there soon to help get them moving, but it might take longer. Nynaeve says that they can just walk to Jareen, the next village on the river, and get on a different ship there. Chin Elisor tries to talk them out of walking on the Carrion side, but it is much shorter to the next town there. Egwene and Nynaeve start bickering as they disembark because Nynaeve is used to issuing orders as the village wisdom, but Egwene will stand it no longer now that they are both accepted. Elaine tries to play peacemaker with no success. They are walking along the riverside when a figure in brown and gray steps out from the bushes in front of them. Chapter 38 Maidens of the Spear. After having been startled by the sudden appearance of a figure, Egwene Alvir simultaneously embraces Sadar and screams. She notes that Elaine Traken has also done so. After wondering if help will come from the blue crane, she weaves air and fire so she can channel lightning. Nynaeve Almira merely stands there with her arms crossed. The subject of their surprise is a woman about Egwene's age, though taller. Egwene calms down, but she does not let go of Sadar, though she notes that Elaine has and muses that the daughter heir holds foolish notions about what is safe. Few men would think the woman in front of her is not dangerous. Egwene feels an odd affinity for the woman and thinks that she looks like Rand's cousin. She recognizes the woman as Ale and wonders what Ale are doing out here. Ale are deadly, even the maidens of the spear, but she strangely feels no fear. The woman introduces herself as Avienda of the Nine Valleys Sept of the Tardet Ale. She and her companions are maidens of the spear. She asks them if they are Aes Sedai. Egwene hears the plural in the woman's first statement, and wonders where the others are with a bit of unease, but concludes that with Sadar flowing through her, they are no threat. Nynaeve replies that they are women of the White Tower, and asks what they want. Avienda smiles and says that they talk like ale-wise ones, and then informs them that they have a companion close by who is gravely hurt, and asks for their aid. Egwene marvels that they talk like they are asking for some small favor rather than something involving life or death. Nynaeve agrees to try to heal their companion but makes no promises. Avienda acknowledges this and offers to take them to her. Immediately, and very close by, two additional ales stand, surprising Egwene. One of them lowers a black veil which startles Egwene because she remembers Elaine telling her that ale only cover their faces when they are ready to kill. These two new ale women are armed and look ready to fight. Elaine introduces herself on the way, and the second ale woman introduces herself as Bane of the Black Rock Sept of the Shaurad Ale. The third ale woman introduces herself as Kayat of the Stones River Sept of the Goshen Ale. Both ale women glance at Egwene, who takes the hint and introduces herself, belatedly adding her family name and hometown. Bane asks if they are first sisters, and comically Egwene answers yes at the same time that Elaine answers no. Elaine then explains the meaning of first sisters to Egwene. She then explains to the ale that she doesn't know a lot about ale ways and asks their pardon. She then also says that she sometimes thinks of Egwene as a first sister, but they are not blood kin. Kayat asks them why they don't become first sisters. Egwene asks how that can happen and in the process shows her ignorance, especially when she says that maidens don't care for men. Inside her head she compares them to the Red Aja. Both ale women are surprised by that assertion and explains that being wed to the spear means being bound to no man, but maidens do sometimes given up the spear for a man, or a child. They also explain that a woman who goes to Ridian to become a wise one cannot remain a maiden either. It seems to Egwene that Bane and Kayat are communicating something secret between the two of them in the way that they say this last. They also explain that their particular clans have blood feud with each other, so they decided that even though maidens do not lift the spear against one another, they needed to go further. They risked their lives to go to each other's clans to become first sisters. Then Bane says coyly that she wouldn't say they don't like men. Then she asks if she has made things clear, and Egwene replies in the affirmative and silently changes her perception of them to women from the Green Aja. The maidens encourage them to go to their wise ones and say the words, but then are puzzled about how they can say the words if they are already wise ones. Both Egwene and Elaine are obviously thinking about what it might be like to share Rand, but Egwene silently thinks that Rand can't be shared by either of them. Elaine explains that she and Egwene already guard each other's backs, and Kayad shows puzzlement and asks why there is need. The three are freed from answering by their arrival at their destination. They meet Jolien of the Salt Flat Sept of the Nakai Ale and Dylin of Avienda's Sept and clan. It is Dylin who is injured. Avienda explains that Carrion soldiers, which she calls tree killers, attacked, and in the encounter Dylin took a sword wound to her torso. Nynaeve looks at the wounds and asks if the woman has been moved. Avienda answers yes, because Dylin wanted to die near water. Nynaeve chastises them for risking her, then pulls out herbs in a cup, telling Kayad to fill it with water. Bane accompanies Kayad to the river. Both women act as if they are afraid of the river. Avienda gently reproves Nynaeve for her scolding. Nynaeve sniffs and starts mixing herbs vigorously, since she needs to be angry in order to channel. The ale admits surprise that an Aes Sedai uses herbs to heal, and Nynaeve snaps out, "I use what I use!" This causes Kayad to observe that Nynaeve does sound like a wise one. Still worried about the ale becoming violent, Egwene decides to get them talking. She asks them about their uneasiness around the river, saying that they could swim in it if they wanted. Avienda admits that she once saw a Shinarian swim. Egwene asks Jolien about the Stones River, and Jolien reasons out that swimming means getting into water. She also explains that the Stones River is dry and that she has never seen running water she could not step across. After a reproachful look from Elaine, Egwene realizes that she has put the ale even more ill at ease. She decides that if they will try anything she will hold them with air, though she doesn't know if she can hold four at once. She embraces Saidar, though Elaine does not, and Egwene wonders again at that. Avienda abruptly states that they would never harm Aes Sedai. She continues that she would never use her spear against another woman. Elaine replies, "So long as we do not attack you, you will not try to harm us." Again, while she is trying to calm down Egwene, not the ale, nevertheless all four ale women are shocked. Nynaeve feeds Dylin her concoction, ordering her to drink. Dylin complies with difficulty. Avienda continues the conversation by revealing that even if the Aes Sedai offered them violence, she would not retaliate with violence. She says that once the ale served the Aes Sedai and they failed in that service, she does not know how or why, however. Elaine promises that they are not going to destroy them. Avienda continues by saying that the old stories say they must not fight the Aes Sedai even if they come with balefire and lightning. They may dance with the lightning, but they would never harm an Aes Sedai. Meanwhile, in her ministrations to Dylin, Nynaeve continues to try to make herself angry. Still seeking distraction, Egwene asks Avienda what balefire is. Avienda tells her that she does not know, except that it is fearsome. Egwene offers that perhaps the White Tower has forgotten much as well. She muses that she knew of it in that dream in Tel'aran Riot. Nynaeve snaps out, "No right to tear bodies so!" Avienda asks if she is angry and looks worried. Elaine says that it is all right, and Egwene says that it is better than all right. Nynaeve is finally angry enough to channel, and Egwene and Elaine lean forward to watch what is happening. Dylin starts up with a scream. Almost immediately Nynaeve lowers her down. Dylin shuts her eyes and pants. Egwene thinks that she saw some of what Nynaeve did, and it was like weaving four carpets at once while blindfolded. Nynaeve cleans the ale woman's belly with the bloody bandages. No wound and no scar can be seen where the woman had once been hurt. Nynaeve stands, tosses the old bandages away, and orders the other ale women to finish cleaning her, and feed her as she will be hungry. Chapter 39, Threads in the Pattern. The maidens examine Dylin after the healing and are surprised at its effectiveness. Avienda says she owes a debt to Nynaeve because Dylin is her cousin. Avienda had heard that a few ale-wise ones could do this but assumed it was just boasting. Nynaeve asks whether there is a ship at Jireen, and Avienda replies that she saw one there yesterday. Elaine asks why the Ale are in the Westlands, and the maidens say that they are searching for he who comes with the dawn. Nynaeve says they should be on their way. Avienda says that they are looking for omens and signs as part of their search and asks the three where they are going. Nynaeve tells them that they are on their way to Tear to hunt dark friends. They depart, and Elaine explains that the Ale do not think of the Ale War as a war. They were only looking for King Laman Damodred to punish him for cutting down of Endor. Elaine quotes from the prophecies of the dragon which state that the dragon shall be born on the slopes of Dragon Mount of a maiden wedded to no man. Rand certainly looks like Ale. Egwene agrees that the Ale could be looking for Rand. Elaine, still trying to play peacemaker, compliments Nynaeve on the healing and her handling of the Ale. This prompts Egwene to compliment Nynaeve as well, but then Nynaeve spoils it by treating Egwene as a child again. They continue walking a while in silence. Suddenly Elaine cries out as Egwene sees men with slings step out in front of them, but it is too late. A rock hits Egwene's head and she passes out. Egwene opens her eyes slowly and sees that she is tied to a moving horse. She sees Nynaeve and Elaine similarly bound, and her captors notice that she is awake and she is knocked unconscious again. When she wakes up again, she finds herself in a hut with a dirt floor, but she is unbound. She gets up and peeks through cracks near the locked door to see dirty men discussing their situation. There are a dozen men waiting for someone to come by, the Aes Sedai that they captured. Egwene realizes their rings have been taken. Egwene wakes Nynaeve, and Nynaeve quickly realizes that they were given Sleepwell root. The men think it will keep them down for a long time, when in reality it is a light herb that only induces some drowsiness to help sleep. The main thing the herb did was clear the pain from being hit in the head. Nynaeve examines Elaine and realizes she is hurt badly, and will die without healing. Unfortunately, Nynaeve cannot muster her normal method of healing without her herbs. But she works herself into a temper and manages to heal Elaine through the Aes Sedai method of healing, using spirit, water and air rather than all 5 powers. The healing energy radiates around Nynaeve and heals Egwene's headache too. Elaine wakes and feels hungry, as is normal for this method of healing. Nynaeve also feels fatigued. Egwene explains to Elaine what happened, and the three prepare to strike at their captors. They look through the cracks again and find that 3 Myrtle are now in the other room, looking at their stolen rings. One tells the men that the captured women are the ones they seek after seeing Golden Crane's signet ring that Nynaeve had with her. Egwene channels Earth to break the chain the lock is holding, and they position themselves to attack. The Myrtle sense channeling and question whether the women are actually sleeping. Just as the chain falls to the floor, 7 Ale storm into the room and kill all the humans in a quick melee. The Myrtle, wounded, defend themselves by positioning back to back. The 5 remaining Ale pace around them, taunting them as the opposing sides assess each other. Nynaeve opens the door, and the 3 rush out. Egwene throws fire at the Myrtle as Elaine crushes them together with air. But then Nynaeve sends a bar of white light at the Myrtle and the Fades vanish, leaving nothing behind. Nynaeve is astonished and does not know what she did. Egwene intuits that it was Balefire, but she did not see the weave. The Ale, impressed by the power of the channeling, immediately unveil themselves to express their peaceful intentions. The sounds of fighting outside died down as well. Nynaeve checks the 2 fallen Ale and is crestfallen to see that one of them is Dylin, whom she healed earlier. Having taken wounds from the Myrtle's blades, they are dead. Avienda says she followed the girls from 100 paces behind to see what they would do. By the time she realized that they had been captured, it was too late to help by herself. So she went and gathered the others before returning to rescue them. Ruark, Avienda's clan chief, recognizes Nynaeve's ring as the ring of Malkiri kings. Ruark had not wanted to come on this expedition to find he who comes with the dawn, but the wise ones had dreams that said he must go. Egwene asks if the wise ones know how to interpret their dreams, and Ruark confirms that some can, but can provide no details. Nynaeve says that they will take the men's horses and continue south. The Ale escort the girls to Jireen, keeping pace on foot with the horses, and depart. The girls enter the village hoping to find a ship. 50 Queen's guards from Andor are there, and some of them ask the 3 to stay with them. Nynaeve slaps one of them. They see the darter and purchase passage. The captain admits that his ship will not be traveling quickly, but it is unlikely they will find another ship. They find out that the blue crane is still hung up on the sunken ship. Chapter 40. A Hero in the Night. Matt and Tom are on the Grey Gull approaching Erangel. Matt had carefully removed the seal on Elaine's letter without breaking it, and even though there was nothing special about it, he is convinced it is the reason people are hunting him. Matt actually made a profit on the ship by gambling with the captain. They had passed the blue crane, but Captain Malia refused to help the ship. Matt is no longer hungry from his healing. The people of the town are starving because of all the refugees from Carrion, and the Andorran squadman says people are slaughtering horses for food. Matt sees a mother of 3 crying children on the docks looking for her husband and gives her some money. Matt and Tom check different inns in town, with Tom offering to perform for a place in the stables since every inn is full to overflowing. They cannot find a place to stay until Matt finds an innkeeper with dice cups. He pays a princely sum for a place for them to sleep in the stable, then offers to gamble for the 2 horses the innkeeper owns. Matt wins, of course, so they have a place to stay and horses for the journey to Camelin. After their meal they were relaxing when a woman, Aludra, drives a cart into the stable. She quickly lights a lantern and starts eating some hard bread. Matt wants to give her some of their cheese, but there is none left. Shortly afterwards, Thomas and 3 others from the Illuminators Guild arrive with the intention of murdering her for selling fireworks outside the purview of the guild. Matt jumps to the rescue, and Tom tosses Matt his quarterstaff. Thomas and his men are knocked out after a quick fight. Matt and Tom learn that Aludra previously ran the chapter house at Carrion but was cast out from the guild. She says Thomas ruined a performance for the king of Carrion, and the guild blamed her as the head of the chapter house. She says she should pay them for helping her, giving Matt a big bundle of fireworks. Aludra gives Matt a lengthy explanation along with many warnings on how to use the fireworks, although Matt does not take her warnings all that seriously. The ones with the longer fuses have a bigger punch. She warns him not to open up the fireworks under any circumstance, or they may explode immediately. Matt remembers Aludra's hard bread and offers her money for food, but she declines, saying she will be able to take care of herself. Tom asks her how she lit her lantern in the dark so quickly, and Aludra mentions something about sticks, but says no more. Thomas and the others are waking up, so Aludra leaves quickly and Matt and Tom follow shortly after with their newly won horses. Chapter 41. A Hunter's Oath. As the ship arrives in Ilion, Perrin is watching everywhere but what is happening on the ship. He is trying to avoid thinking about his companions. Zarin and Moraine are looking out on the city, trying hard not to look at each other. Moraine was annoyed that Perrin did not tell her that Zarin recognized her as Aes Sedai, but became truly angry when she learned that Zarin thought following them would lead to the Horn of Valir. Perrin did not think Zarin needed to tell Moraine these things. Perrin argued with Zarin, and one of them let slip that Moraine is Aes Sedai, so now everyone on the ship knows, which annoys Moraine further. Lan watches the two and tries not to let Moraine see him laugh. He justifies his amusement to Moraine as something he will need if he is sent to Morel. Loyal mostly makes himself scarce to avoid the frosty attitude between the women. Perrin cannot hear the wolves and doesn't want to hear them either. He had a couple of dreams where Hopper appears to chase him away, telling him it is too dangerous for him. They disembark at the dock along with the horses, with the captain bowing deferentially to Moraine. Zarin tickles the back of Perrin's neck, and combined with the familiar smell of her, Perrin finds himself thrown off balance again. Moraine tells Zarin that it would be best for her to leave now, but Zarin declines, and says that Moraine will not stop her from following. Moraine says Zarin can come along if she swears on her hunter's oath that she will follow Moraine's orders and not leave the party once she learns inside information about them and their mission. Zarin must also not ask any questions. Lan is surprised that Moraine is offering Zarin the chance to stay. Zarin swears and the 2 women enter a solemn agreement. Moraine assigns Perrin as Zarin's guide and watchdog and lets slip that Perrin is Ta'veren. Moraine comments that she did her best to dissuade Zarin, but it seems Zarin will be Perrin's falcon after all, as Min had said. Zarin immediately questions Perrin about the falcon comment and Min, which Perrin refuses to answer. He picks up Zarin and puts her on his horse. He tries to get her to address him by name, but she refuses because he refuses to call her Fail. Perrin is disgruntled that Min told Moraine about his viewing. Chapter 42, Easing the Badger. In Ilion, Zarin tells Perrin about the city and the square of Tamaz where she took her hunter's oath. Loyal is uneasy because Ogier stonemasons from Stedding Shangtai built the city, and they send for them when things need to be repaired. Loyal is afraid one of them will see him. Perrin says Moraine will not let anyone take him back to the Stedding. Loyal mentions traveling through the ways, which Fail overhears. Perrin is annoyed at himself for bringing this up because he wants to give Zarin as little information as possible in the hopes that she will get bored and leave. Loyal and Moraine both say that something is wrong in the city, which makes Perrin look more closely. He then notices that at least 1 in 5 people have an oddly angry expression, and they don't seem to realize it. They come to an inn called Easing the Badger. The innkeeper, Nieda Sidoro, is an Eisender's agent for Moraine. She gives Moraine the local news but refers to her as Mari. She talks about the weather and this winter being worse than any others except last year. Nieda tells Moraine that she is having dreams of Lord Brand, who was recently raised to the Council of 9 even though no one had ever heard of him before. Moraine is greatly concerned about this. The Council has forbidden any ship to sail for Tyr. Also, there is talk of war with Tyr. The party goes up to get settled in their rooms before having their evening meal. Loyal is very pleased that the inn has an Ogier room. They begin to eat their meal and then Perrin smells something wrong. 6 men walk toward him and he barely notices them when he looks at them, but he can smell them. Then they have daggers in their hands and Perrin yells, and Moraine and Lan get up. The attackers seem to be focused on Perrin, ignoring the other members of the party. The fight is over quickly with all 6 Grey Men dead. The entire inn knows that Moraine is Aes Sedai now as she was forced to channel to fight the Grey Men. Perrin realizes that he had smelled Grey Men at Jarrah and Remen. Nieda does not believe that the dead men are Grey Men, although when Moraine calls them dark friends she is much more accepting. Moraine tells Lan she must go out alone and that should she die, Lan must take Perrin with him back to Tar Valon. Chapter 43, Shadow Brothers. Lan asks Perrin how he knew the Grey Men were there, and he says he could smell them. Lan takes Perrin outside and Fail and Loyal go with them. Lan says they are going to look for something, but doesn't know what. Perrin follows Lan to a hound print in the stone with a trail leading to and from the inn. They are prints from a dark hound which only leaves prints in stone but not dirt. Lan again offers Fail the chance to leave as she has not learned too much yet, but she still declines. Lan tells them to go get some sleep as he is going after Moraine to tell her of the dark hound. Perrin goes to sleep, hoping to enter the wolf dream and talk with Hopper and find out why Grey Men and dark hounds are after him. First he finds himself in what he thinks are someone else's dreams. They feature a tall man, sometimes holding a blazing sword, sometimes sitting in a throne with kings and queens groveling before him. Then he experiences a series of images while standing atop a mountain in a rugged landscape. Mad is dicing with Baalzamon without realizing it. Egwene, Nynaeve and Elaine stand looking at a huge metal cage with a raised door held on a heavy spring. They release the door, trapping themselves. A woman with her hair in braids laughs at them and a woman in white laughs at the woman in braids. Hopper arrives and Perrin asks the wolf about the Grey Men and Darkhounds. Hopper only says that the last hunt comes and that he should flee the Shadow Brothers. Hopper knocks him off the mountain cliff to force him to waken when he hits the ground. When Perrin wakes up, Zarin is there, and she wonders if he is the Dragon Reborn, considering his company and those chasing him. Moraine storms into the room, saying that Perrin's wolf dreams are indeed as true as a dreamer's. She has confirmed that the Forsaken are loose and one of them rules in Ilion. Chapter 44, Hunted. Sam'l is in Ilion, according to Moraine. Moraine asks Zarin one more time if she wishes to continue on the journey with them. Zarin ponders it for a moment but decides it is too grand an adventure to pass up. Perrin is convinced that Zarin must have a very good reason for staying and demands to know what she wants, but Moraine does not have time for this and ushers them out of the inn. They pass Loyal packing up on the way to the stable where Moraine tries to convince Nieda Sidoro to flee the city with her loved ones lest they be killed for her connection to Moraine. Lan shows Zarin a horse which is now hers, and Zarin hops onto it with surprising skill. Moraine says Samuel did not send the Grey Men, only the Dark Hounds. Perrin questions Moraine on why the Grey Men would be after him when Rand is the Dragon Reborn in front of Nyeda and Zarin, shocking the two of them. Angry at Perrin's indiscretion, Moraine swears the innkeeper to secrecy and tells Zarin that she is bound to them now and cannot leave them. Nyeda now believes that she must leave the city. The five of them ride out of the stable. Perrin hopes the clearing skies will be good for them to get away from Elian and the Darkhounds. Lan tells him that Darkhounds do not like rain, clear moonless nights are when they hunt best. A full pack is chasing them, and they gather on top of a hill with a clear view since they will not be able to outrun them. Loyal looks at a nearby carving which looks like an ogier, but they are not near a steading. Perrin tries to shoot them with his bow to little effect while Loyal and Zarin hold the horses to stop them from fleeing. Moraine finally uses Bay of Fire which destroys the Darkhounds. Perrin questions Moraine more on what is going on, and she slips and says that Mat blew the horn of Valir. Fael is shocked and disappointed that the hunt is over already. Mat sits in front of a fire, holding one of the fireworks given to him by Elidra. He takes a knife and carefully slices it open. He sees the inside is made out of paper and tiny gray-black pebbles. Tom freaks out that Mat actually opened up one of the fireworks despite Elidra's warnings. Mat throws the bits into the fire which causes Tom to become enraged, but nothing much happens. A woman and 3 men approach their fire and start to attack. Mat throws another firework into the fire which actually explodes and distracts the attackers. Tom kills one with a thrown knife, then another. Mat fights easily handles the 3rd man with his quarterstaff. The woman is approaching Mat when Tom throws a knife into the throat of the woman. Mat says she was harmless by herself, so Tom didn't need to kill her. Tom points out that she was holding a dagger in her hand. Mat recognizes one of the men from the attack on their ship when they left Tar Valon. Mat thinks about the fireworks again, and wonders what would happen if he set them all off at once. He says they have to get going immediately, and is even more convinced that he is being hunted because of Elaine's letter. Chapter 45, Caemlyn. Mat and Tom arrive at Caemlyn. Mat wants to deliver the letter from Elaine right away, but Tom says they should go to the Queen's blessing to get a meal and a bed first. Mat vaguely remembers the Queen's blessing and how Moraine had found Rand and him there after having previously been separated. He's happy to be free of Moraine now, she's Rand's problem. Mat tells Tom to go on to the inn by himself, and he will go to the palace first. Tom warns Mat not to get lost, but it is easy to get to the palace because it is at the center of the city and the streets all spiral in on it. Mat tries to explain his errand to the gate officer, but the officer interrupts Mat and won't let him finish his explanation. The gate officer says he will take no word to the Queen from Tar Valon. When Mat continues to try to explain, the gate officer accuses Mat of being a dark friend and commands the guards to seize him. Mat rides away and barely escapes the guards. Mat is annoyed at himself for mentioning Tar Valon first instead of just saying he has a letter from Elaine. He doesn't know why the palace is so against Tar Valon now, they weren't before. Mat finds the Queen's blessing after some wandering, seeking out Tom and Basil Gill. Basil and Tom are playing stones. Basil says Lord Gabriel has replaced half the guards in Caemlyn with those of his own and that Gareth Bryan has been forced out of the city. For luck, Mat rolls the dice and gets 5 single pips the Dark One's eyes. He's just not sure whether that is the best or worst roll as it depends on the game being played. Mat plans to sneak into the palace and deliver the letter directly to the Queen, as the longer he holds the letter the more dangerous it will be for him. Chapter 46. A Message Out of the Shadow. Mat decides to try again to get into the palace and to deliver the letter from Elaine to Morgase. He climbs up the wall that Rand used when he first met Elaine. Mat drops down into the palace gardens, where he avoids the guards. Mat hears a man with a commanding voice talking about plots. The man tells Comer to go to Ter and quietly kill Elaine and also kill the other 2, which Mat realizes must be Egwene and Nynaeve. Mat wonders again what the 3 women are up to, going to Ter. Mat peeks through the window and sees a man muttering to himself, which must be Comer. Talonvor sees Mat and almost draws his blade. Matt manages to tell him he has a letter from Elaine, showing the seal. Talonvor wants to deliver the letter, but Matt tells him he promised to deliver the letter to Morghese himself. On the way to Morghese, Matt ponders on what his reward will be when he tells Morghese of the plot against her daughter. When Matt gives the letter to Morghese, Gabriel asks to see the letter. Matt realizes Gabriel is the voice he heard ordering Comer to kill Elaine, so he can't reveal the plot. Gabriel reads that Elaine is out of the tower again on a service for the Merlin seat and questions Matt about it. Matt claims to be Tom Grinwell and says he knows nothing about it, as he was only visiting his sister Else. Gabriel considers putting Matt to the question, but Morghese disagrees and Gabriel lets it go. Morghese tells Matt to tell Elaine that she will not remove Elaine from the tower prematurely after all, as she had previously decided that in anger. Matt acknowledges this but doubts he will see Elaine again, as he will not return to Tar Valon. Gabriel accepts Matt's tale and dismisses him with 10 gold marks. Gabriel then starts talking to Morghese about claiming the Sun Throne of Carrion, and Talonvor leads Matt away. Chapter 47, To Raise the Shadow. As Talonvor leads Matt to the palace gate, Matt worries whether Gabriel figured out that Matt overheard his plan to have Elaine killed. Matt wants to walk quicker due to his fear but cannot, since he has to follow Talonvor. Plus, it would be suspicious if he started running. Talonvor dresses down Elber at the gate for not letting Matt in. Talonvor asks Matt about what Morghese said regarding Shuriam, but Matt does not know what it means. Talonvor seems to think that Morghese is trying to communicate something discreetly. Matt asks Talonvor whether he serves Morghese and Gabriel faithfully, but Talonvor says only that he serves Morghese to the death. When Matt returns to the inn, he says he is on the road to Tyr after he eats. Matt asks Basil Gill about Gabriel. He says Gabriel came during the winter and led the men supporting Morghese during the riots. His reward for supporting Morghese was the post of advisor to the queen. There is not much real information about Gabriel, who he is or where he came from. Matt says Gabriel wants Elaine dead, and tells them he overheard Gabriel talking to Comer. Basil would like to do something but can't think of anything that would help. Tom says Basil can spread some rumors about Gabriel that will cut his support. Morghese will hear the rumors sooner or later and may take warning. Matt says he is going to Tyr right away, but Tom says he wants a good night's sleep first. Matt is leaving right after he eats, so Tom agrees to go right away and says they need to go to Arendelle to catch a fast boat. Matt leaves the purse of 10 gold marks with Gil to represent a wager between him and Gabriel. Matt rolls the dice again and gets 5 sixes and states, "I always win." Chapter 48, Following the Craft. As the darter approaches to the docks at Tyr, Egwene attempts to get over her seasickness. Nynaeve is doing even worse and frequently vomits. They are traveling under fake names without showing their great serpent rings. Channeling is illegal in Tyr, and any known Aes Sedai are closely watched. Egwene continues to have dreams, but she can't figure out the meanings. She is frustrated that she cannot make her dreams give her information regarding things she is interested in, such as the Black Aja. A white cloak putting Master Lohan in the middle of a huge, toothed trap for bait. Perrin with a falcon on his shoulder. Perrin choosing between his axe and a blacksmith's hammer. Matt dicing with the Dark One and shouting, "I am coming!" and she thinks he's shouting that to her. Rand sneaking through darkness toward Calendar, followed by 6 men and 5 women, including a man with eyes of flame who wanted Rand desperately. Rand in a dry, dusty chamber with small creatures settling onto his skin. Rand confronting a horde of Shan Chan. Rand confronting her, and she has a Shan Chan woman with her. They get off the ship with their horses and on to dry land. They get off in the waterside district of the mall, where it is muddy everywhere. People use special platformed shoes to avoid sinking into the mud. Egwene looks at the people and sees that many faces seem to have given up. The imposing stone of Tyr can be seen in the distance. Egwene and Nynaeve are still at odds on almost every topic that comes up. Elaine had sewn their dresses on the ship to be divided for riding. Elaine says they need a thief-taker to help them find Liandrin and the rest of the Black Aja. Egwene says they can just an innkeeper to find one for them. Nynaeve says they should not stay at an inn or the Black Aja will surely find out about them and attack them. After riding the streets for a while, Nynaeve spots the House of a Wisdom, although they are not called that in Tyr. Nynaeve asks Mother Gaina for something to settle her stomach as pretext. Nynaeve and Mother Gaina fire questions at each other, to sound each other out about their herb knowledge and to learn new things. Nynaeve asks Gaina what she hears on the wind, but Gaina cannot do that. Egwene is annoyed at this time wasting and stops the back and forth by pointing out that Nynaeve really doesn't need to learn about herbs and such anymore, which causes Nynaeve to snap that Egwene used to care about these learning things too. Elaine asks how Gaina handles women that won't stop arguing with each other. Mother Gaina replies that after she is paid, she sticks their heads in a barrel of water until they agree to stop arguing. Mother Gaina says most of the people who see her lately need a cure for bad dreams. Nynaeve asks to hire rooms from her, but Mother Gaina wishes an explanation first. They explain they are chasing dangerous thieves, dark friends, and have no menfolk they could call on to do it for them. She leaves to bring Julin Sandar, a thief-catcher, to help them. Chapter 49, A Storm in Tyr. Julin says he can help them until the High Lords need him. He has seen men walking the rooftops in Tyr and believes it is only a matter of time until someone asks him to catch the thieves. Elaine asks why he doesn't wear a sword and Julin says it is not allowed unless you are a lord. Nynaeve explains that she wants Julin to find 13 women and goes on to describe them. Nynaeve says that he is not to try to recover the stolen objects they carry as the women are extremely dangerous, and Julin reluctantly agrees. Nynaeve feels a storm coming. After the wise woman goes to her bed, the others go to Egwene's room so she can use the dream Turingriel. Egwene is in the field of flowers again, wearing green silk this time. She has learned some of the rules of Tel Aran Riot and can go where she wants now. She pictures the heart of the stone, and Calendar, and is taken there. She sees 13 women, one of them is Liandrin, all looking at Calendar. They see her. Egwene wakes and sits up, gasping for air. She says they are waiting for them, and they know they are in Tyr. Outside, the thunderstorm begins pouring rain down on the city. Playing stones with Tom, Matt wants to know if Tom ever loses. Captain Dern comes in, shaking the rain off his coat. Dern tells them that they are docking at Tyr now and collects the rest of his payment. Matt paid a hefty sum so that the ship would travel as quickly as possible, through storms and all. As Matt and Tom walk through the rain looking for an inn, they pass by the wise woman's home where Elaine, Nynaeve, and Egwene are staying. Matt thinks there is no chance the women are staying in such a muddy district. Exposed to the rain, Tom starts coughing. They arrive at the White Crescent, and leave their belongings in their room. Matt has a meal and then goes out to look for the girls and Tom insists on coming along, as men talk freely to glee men. Matt asks about the women and Comer at the inns he sees, while Tom tells stories and talks to the patrons. Tom is ready to collapse, and tells Matt they need to head back to the inn for some sleep. Before they go in the next inn he sees a tall man walking up the street, and thinks he looks like Rand but can't believe that it could be. Matt says one more inn, and they walk inside the Golden Cup where he finds Comer. Comer is dicing and winning almost every toss. The innkeeper is furious at this outlander bullying Terrans but cannot do anything about a man who is just lucky. Tom doubts it is luck and demonstrates how he can use weighted dice to win, while using sleight of hand to swap out the dice before the other man takes his turn. Comer is smart, and weighs the dice to return a high roll but not the highest so it is not too suspicious. Matt wants the innkeeper to call the defenders to arrest the man, but the innkeeper says that the defenders would never believe him over a rich foreigner. Matt goes over and gambles with Comer, carefully stopping him from changing the dice. Matt expects the dice to roll the same every time, forcing repeated ties which would prove the cheating. But Matt's luck wins out over the weighted dice, winning the toss anyway. Matt baits Comer into accidentally admitting that he has not found Elaine yet. Comer pulls his sword but Matt flips the table to defend himself, and in the scuffle Comer breaks his back. As he dies, Comer taunts Matt, saying that others are hunting the women too. The innkeeper tells Matt to go and says he will give the defenders Rand's description as the killer. "A man I dreamed of," he says. "He's not real." The other patrons all lost money to Comer, and will go along with the story. They hurry out of the inn. Matt has an epiphany and tells Tom his luck only works when things are random like dice, but less with cards and not at all with stones. If he is to find the girls, he needs to do things randomly. Matt and Tom look for the girls for 3 days, with Matt choosing different random methods to decide where to look. Matt hears lots of rumors of wars and invasions, but nothing about Egwene and the others. Tom's cough gets worse since the weather is still miserable. Matt starts having dreams of Rand and another man weaving a net. Chapter 50, The Hammer. Perrin, Loyal, Moiraine, Lan and Zarin finally arrive in Tyr after chasing after Rand for weeks. Perrin and Zarin still bicker and Perrin will not call her fail. Loyal notes that the people around them in the streets look defeated. They arrive at the inland shows, the Star, where Jura Harrot shows them to their rooms. Harrot looks weary and defeated too. Perrin asks Moiraine how they will find Rand, but Moiraine says only that they are to stay near the inn and goes outside with Lan. Zarin seems to finally fit the pieces together. They are looking for Rand, the Dragon Reborn, in Tyr, where the Stone of Tyr holds Calendar. She is starting to have second thoughts about her involvement. Perrin goes to the smithy next door and helps out Dermot Ajala, who is short-handed at the moment. Dermot asks Perrin to work a piece of metal. When that turns out successfully, he asks for more items that need to be made. At the end of the day, Dermot tells Perrin that he is a master blacksmith. Zarin has been watching Perrin work for a while. Dermot says Perrin can come back any time and work since his apprentices have all run away complaining about nightmares. Zarin asks whether Perrin came all this way just to be a blacksmith again. Perrin says no, although perhaps he will be a blacksmith again one day. As Perrin puts the blacksmith's hammer back on the wall, Dermot tells him to take it. Perhaps Perrin will be able to use it again when he is able to be a blacksmith again. Perrin puts it in his room, next to this axe, to remind him of home. Moiraine returns and gathers everyone in the private dining room. Moiraine announces that Bilal, one of the Forsaken, is High Lord Saemon. Bilal's plan is to allow Rand into the heart of the stone, since only the Dragon Reborn can take Calendar from the traps protecting it. Then Rand will be captured or killed and Bilal will have Calendar, one of the most powerful Sangreal ever made. Zarin asks whether they will run again as they ran from Sammo, but Moiraine says they cannot run this time. They must stay and fight to help Rand. Loyal tells what he has learned of Bilal, which isn't a lot except he is called the Net Weaver and that he was envious of Luz there in Telemann and Ishamel. This information reaffirms Moiraine's belief that Bilal plots to gain Calendar to increase his power. Moiraine and Lan plan to attempt to enter the stone and foil the plan while the rest of the party remains behind. Lan will have to find a way in, and it will be much harder for a larger party. Moiraine reveals that in the years since she took the 3 boys from the 2 rivers, she has learned how to weave balefire. Lan notes that he has seen ale on the rooftops. Perrin tells her that Gaul mentioned that when the Stone of Tyr falls, the ale will leave the threefold land. Moiraine worries about what their part is since they are not mentioned in the prophecies of the dragon. Chapter 51, Bait for the Net. Nynaeve thinks she sees Rand, but when she tries to get a better look, a cart moves between them. Nynaeve laments the high prices despite the low quality of meat. The mood of the people concerns her. In the 2 rivers, people pick themselves back up, instead of spending their days sulking. Nynaeve is frustrated that Egwene still objects to almost every suggestion she makes. At least she convinced Egwene to stop using the dream ring at night, since the Black Aja were in Tel Aroyd. Thinking about the Black Aja and Aes Sedai reminds her of how much she hates Moiraine. Juilin finds Nynaeve and says the women she seeks are guests of the High Lord Saemon. Juilin is very nervous and shifty. They walk back to Mother Gaina's house. Nynaeve walks into the house and realizes it is a trap when she sees Gaina sitting in a chair unable to move. Liandrin walks into the room. Nynaeve tries to channel but finds herself shielded, so she punches Liandrin and Rihanna and Damarin, trying to run out of range of the shielding. Liandrin and her companion use air to beat Nynaeve. Liandrin says Nynaeve fought almost as fiercely as Egwene, who was punished with air too. Rihanna is about to kill Gaina, but Liandrin allows her to live in exchange for her silence, saying that Rihanna kills too quickly when people can be used. Liandrin used compulsion to make Juilin bring them to Nynaeve. Liandrin puts Nynaeve into her coach along with Elaine and Egwene to take her to her master, the High Lord Saemon. Egwene is unconscious and badly bruised. Liandrin says they are bait, part of the plan laid by the Forsaken Bilal. Nynaeve and Elaine try to bluff Liandrin into believing that they themselves are bait to capture the Black Aja, but it has no apparent effect. Liandrin says only that after they are used as bait, they will be interrogated and then 13 myrtle will be used to turn them to the shadow. Chapter 52, In Search of a Remedy. Tom is sick with a severe cough. Matt wants him to see a wise woman, but Tom says he does not need foul-tasting concoctions. Matt thinks Tom's cough will not go away on its own. Matt takes Tom to the nearby house where he had seen herbs in the window on the first night when they arrived. As he arrives, he can still see tracks from the carriage that carried Egwene, Nynaeve, and Elaine away to the stone. He knocks on the door and Mother Gaina reluctantly agrees to help. Inside, Matt looks through the window and sees 3 horses tied up in the back, which is unusual in this part of the city. Tom yells at Gaina for her foul-tasting medicine, and she yells back at him. Matt decides to make some conversation to smooth things over and comments on Gaina's accent, which sounds like the Amerlin's. Mother Gaina says she knew some girls with his accent. Even though the names are different, after they share descriptions, Matt knows he has found the 3 girls. After some convincing and swearing to secrecy, Matt gets her to tell him where they went. She tells him they were taken to the stone on orders of High Lord Saemon, by women who could channel, just 3 hours ago. Gaina cannot understand why a High Lord would be consorting with Aes Sedai when channeling is illegal in Tyr, a law that the High Lords themselves made. Matt is relieved because Aes Sedai would not hurt them, as accepted, but Gaina says they resisted fiercely and the Aes Sedai hurt them badly. Matt is so angry at himself for walking past this house on the first night that he punches the wall without realizing it. Matt leaves to find a way to get the girls out and leaves Tom with Mother Gaina, despite Tom's protests. As he heads back to the inn, he feels dice tumbling in his head for the first time. Chapter 53, A Flow of the Spirit. Perrin spends another day working in the smithy for Dermidajala with Zarin watching him. Having Zarin around watching him all the time makes him very uneasy. Perrin almost calls her Fail but catches himself, which amuses her greatly. She suggests that he would look better with a beard. They head to the inn and meet up with Moraine and Lan. Moraine says that Rand is in Tyr and Lan cites a variety of strange happenings that can only be caused by the presence of a strong Ta'veren. Moraine says Zarin, Perrin, and Loyal should go to Tar Valon, while she and Lan enter the Stone of Tyr. Perrin is tired of running again and thinks that it was better when they were fighting back. Zarin says she is fine with running from the Forsaken and goes to fetch Loyal. Perrin goes upstairs and sees Zarin on the floor next to a small hedgehog on the floor. When he sees her, he calls her Fail. Moraine says she felt a trigger. She senses flows of spirit in the area. When questioned, the innkeeper admits to allowing 2 women to bring a surprise present for Moraine to their private dining room, despite previously promising that nobody would be allowed to enter. Moraine says Fail is alive, but not in her body any longer. Zarin is trapped in a dream, maybe Telerin ride. Moraine says she must go to the stone, and Perrin thinks the wolf dream is similar to where Zarin is trapped. Moraine wants him to leave and go to Tar Valon, but he refuses and decides he must help Fail. Perrin explains to Loyal about the trap. Perrin asks Loyal to guard his back while he tries to help Fail. Loyal is enraged that a free spirit like Fail would be trapped, so Loyal promises that no one, not even the Dark One, will pass him while he lives. Perrin jumps into the room and finds himself in the wolf dream, with a wide expanse of wilderness around him. Hopper meets Perrin and says he should leave, that he is here too strongly and will die. Perrin replies that he doesn't care, Fail is there, and he must free her. Perrin feels himself turn into a wolf, even bigger than Hopper. Hopper declares that they will hunt, and they set out across the plain. Chapter 54, Into the Stone. Matt has been going around the Stone of Tyr all evening, trying to find the best way to get in. The best path he has found so far is to go from a rooftop to the city wall which connects to the stone's wall. He sees someone scaling the wall of the stone and is worried that the man is going to get caught and trigger the alarm. He has his fireworks bundle and a tin box with a coal in it. He is examining the city wall trying to find the best way to climb it when he feels a blade at his throat. He fights the wielder briefly but is outnumbered and finds himself surrounded by spears. He looks at the other people and sees them wearing black veils, which makes them Ale. Julin arrives and questions the reason the Ale are on the rooftops, but the Ale respond to him with the same question. Julin says he is trying to right a wrong he did someone. Matt admits he wants to rescue some friends in the stone. The leader of the Ale says he is Ruark, and means no harm as long as they do not raise the alarm. Matt asks whether the Ale will help him since they seem interested in the stone too, but Ruark declines. The Ale leave and head toward the stone. Julin asks whether the friends are 3 women, which Matt confirms. He says he can help Matt get the women out by pretending Matt is a thief he is bringing to the jail. Matt decides to create a diversion with the fireworks first. With the Ale heading into the stone via the city wall section that he was looking at before, he heads in the opposite direction and finds an arrow slit. It is too small for him to fit through, but he is able to wedge his bundle of fireworks in it, and sets it off. The explosion is much larger than he expected, and there is now a substantial hole where the arrow slit used to be, big enough to enter the stone. He decides this is a better bet than hoping Julin doesn't betray him in the proposed captured thief ruse, but when he gets inside he realizes his mistake because the area is now swarming with defenders of the stone. He intended this to be a diversion after all, and the Terrans are indeed diverted to the area. There are too many for Matt until Julin jumps through the hole in the wall too, and the defenders are sandwiched between them and are quickly subdued. Julin is in shock that he actually attacked defenders and thinks he will be executed. Then he questions Matt about what happened, thinking that Matt may be a male channeler. Matt says only that it was fireworks and tells Julin to lead him to the jail cells. The alarm gong begins to sound. Rand hears the alarm gongs after Matt sets off his fireworks, but cannot pay attention to them. Calendar is close now, and one way or another he will be done with being hunted, done with the dreams taunting and baiting him. Egwene wakes up and recalls that she was dreaming about Rand and Matt shouting that he is coming. She sees the cell walls and reacts badly, but Nynaeve and Elaine are there to soothe her. She remembers being beaten by Liandrin when she refused to submit. She asks Elaine if they are still shielded. Nynaeve says she tried to heal them but could not. Amiko is sitting outside the door maintaining the shield. Egwene remembers Liandrin saying they are bait. She remembers her dreams of Rand and Calendar, and realizes they are bait for Rand. She is puzzled though by her dreams of Matt and Perrin. Egwene says she still has the twisted stone ring and can use the world of dreams to get them out. Nynaeve is skeptical and concerned, since the last time Egwene went there she ran into the Black Aja. Egwene actually hopes to find the Black Aja this time though. Perhaps she can fight them there because they cannot fight in the real world currently. She drifts to sleep, and in Tel Arenriad she is not shielded. She goes to the heart of the stone and finds Joya Bayer and shields her. After tying off the shield, she goes to see if she can find a way to get them out of the cells. Perrin and Hopper are in the Stone of Tyr in the wolf dream. They kill guards, who are surprised to see wolves, in a corridor, and come to a locked door. Perrin becomes a man again, and uses his hammer to break the lock on the door. He finds Fael inside, who is glad to see him. He smashes the bolts holding her, but she disappears. Hopper says the wolf dream is different from the real world, and the two continue their hunt with Perrin remaining in human form. Matt is fighting High Lord Darlin and is not finding any openings. Finally Matt attacks all out, and is able to sweep his feet out, then crack him on the head. Matt thinks he sees Rand trotting through a hallway but believes he must be mistaken. Matt hits another High Lord in the head by accident, when putting his staff back on his shoulder. He and Julin are looking for a shortcut passage the High Lords used to get to the jail cells. Chapter 55 What is Written in Prophecy. Rand enters the heart of the stone in the Stone of Tyr where Calendar rests. The Forsaken Bilal is waiting for him, and tries to taunt Rand into taking Calendar. Bilal reveals some of the past of Luz there in Telamon, and also tells Rand that Calendar is a Essaying that had been made at the end of the Age of Legends. Rand still has his doubts about being the Dragon Reborn, so he doesn't try to grab Calendar. Bilal creates a sword using the One Power, and starts using force to drive him to it. Rand creates a sword of his own and fights back. Rand realizes that Bilal is a true blade master, and he is slowly driven towards Calendar by the Forsaken's superior skill. While they are fighting, Ale and defenders of the stone enter the heart of the stone and continue their battle. Rand, caught up in his fight, is unaware of his surroundings and trips over a dead body. Bilal comes towards him, saying if Rand doesn't take Calendar, he will die. Moraine suddenly appears, startling both Bilal and Rand. Bilal says he's surprised that she is alive still, then raises his free hand to destroy her with the one power. But before he can complete his weave, Moraine raises both her hands and shoots Bay of Fire, killing Bilal instantly. Moraine tells Rand that Calendar is his birthright, and he should take it. Black lightning suddenly grabs Moraine and hurls her across the floor. Baalzamon appears in the air and tells Rand that he is going to die. Rand realizes he truly has no choice now and leaps toward Calendar as Baalzamon attacks him with the power. As his hands grasp Calendar, he feels the power surge through him. Rand is nearly driven mad from the amount of the power the Sangreal lets him wield, but he gains control. Rand turns to Baalzamon and says he's going to finish it once and for all. Baalzamon flees by traveling to Teleran Riad, and Rand travels himself to hunt for him. Egwene enters the dungeon of the Stone of Tyr within Teleran Riad. Unsure which cell Nynaeve and Elaine are in, she suddenly sees a flicker of a woman sitting on a bench down the hallway. Egwene realizes it's Amiko Nagoyan, the Black Aja Aes Sedai, who is guarding the cell where the girls are held and maintaining the shield that blocks them from touching the true source. Amiko is falling in and out of sleep with a dream ter'ngreal in her hand. Egwene prepares a weave of air to physically hold Amiko, and a separate weave of spirit to shield her from the one power. When Amiko flickers into Teleran Riad again, Egwene hits her with the weaves, holding Amiko in place. Egwene channels earth into the cell's lock, destroying it, and then swings the door open. She exits Teleran Riad. Egwene awakes to find the cell door still shut and the shield still maintained on them all, but at least Amiko is still bound by air. Egwene tries to fall asleep to enter Teleran Riad again, to find another way to break free. Matrim Cothan and Julin Sandar enter the dungeon of the Stone of Tyr. Mat sees Amiko sitting on the bench, physically paralyzed but mentally awake. Julin warns him that she is an Aes Sedai, but Mat risks it and takes the cell door key off her person. He unlocks the door next to Amiko and flings it open. Nynaeve and Elaine are kneeling around Egwene, who is sleeping on the floor. Both are surprised to see Mat. Upon seeing the door opened, they wake Egwene up. Then they all glare at Julin, who admits he wronged them. Julin says he was compelled to do so, and the women decide that they will deal with him later. They exit the cell and see Amiko, who begs for mercy. Nynaeve punches her in the face, knocking her unconscious. The shields disappear, and they embrace Sadar. Nynaeve heals the other girls of their wounds. Mat starts criticizing Nynaeve for hitting a defenseless woman, then he is lifted off the ground with the one power. They reprimand him for commenting without understanding the situation. Mat says they are ungrateful for his effort in freeing them. They agree and let him down with a thud. Mat wants to leave the stone immediately lest they be caught up in all the fighting, but the women are not abandoning their chance to capture the rest of the Black Aja. The girls exit the dungeon to search for Liandrin and the others, and Mat and Julin feel compelled to follow to protect them from getting hurt. Perrin is still in the wolf dream trying to rescue Fael from her hedgehog slumber. He has found her several times, but each time it is an illusion he rescues, not the real Fael. Perrin sees someone he thinks could be Rand but can't believe Rand would be in the wolf dream. Perrin is becoming weak from being too fully in the dream. Hopper leads Perrin to another set of doors and says that Fael is beyond it. He pounds his hammer against the doors, and on the third swing the doors shatter like glass. Fael is chained to a perch. When Perrin tries to free her, many falcons in the room attack him. He finally reaches the chain and snaps it with his hands. Perrin wakes up in the real world, laying on the floor of the private dining room of the Star Inn, in pain. Fael is wiping blood off his face. They exchange some tender words and look deeply into each other's eyes. Rand is in the heart of the stone, but there are no men and there is no battle. He hears 3 loud sounds like a gong from Perrin rescuing Fail. Baalzamon shoots balefire at Rand, but the stream splits around Calendar. He chases Baalzamon and instinctively channels to protect himself from attacks. Only the enormous power he is able to channel allows him to survive. As the chase continues, Tel'aran'rhiod changes rapidly as Baalzamon tries to change the dream world to kill him. Sometimes the air turns into water, sometimes it turns into stone. Rand is instinctively able to change the world back to the way it should be to save himself. Eventually he finds himself back in the heart of the stone, facing Baalzamon. He sees black cords run off from Baalzamon into the surrounding darkness. Rand uses Calendar to sever the black cords, which causes Baalzamon to convulse, and Rand takes this opportunity to plunge the blade into his foe's chest. Suddenly Rand is out of Tel'aran'rhiod again, but he doesn't know how. He is back in the real heart of the stone. Baalzamon is dead at his feet while the Ael and defenders continue their battle. Rand believes he has killed the Dark One and recognizes that he is indeed the Dragon Reborn. He shouts, "Stop! I am Rand al'Thor! I am the Dragon Reborn!" The fighting stops and the Ael and defenders alike kneel. Chapter 56 People of the Dragon. The people of Tyr awaken from dreams of the dragon battling Baalzamon in the heart of the stone. They are startled to find the dragon banner now flying over the stone of Tyr. They proclaim Rand al'Thor as the dragon. Mat sees the people outside proclaiming Rand as the dragon. He remembers the fighting in the stone of Tyr, along with Rand wielding Calendar. He has not been able to get close to Rand, who is now constantly surrounded by Ael, the remaining High Lords, and defenders of the stone. There are now almost 200 Ael in the stone. Although about 100 fell in combat, they killed or captured 10 times as many defenders. Mat is in the High Lord's meeting room with Elaine, Egwene, Nynaeve, Ruark and Moiraine. They are surrounded by bookshelves and Ruark is reading one of the books. Mat is surprised that the Ael is interested in books. Moiraine tells them that Perrin is also in the city along with a companion, who is in considerable danger, and Perrin may be also. She will return to see to Fail, but first she must show them an intact seal that she found. 3 others have been found but broken. They have been lost since the Trolloc Wars, but have now started to appear again. Moiraine notes that every time Rand confronted Baalzamon, a seal was nearby. Mat wants to understand how things happened as they did. The prophecies of the dragon say that the stone would only fall when the people of the dragon come. Does that mean the few of them are the people of the dragon? Moiraine says it is possible, as prophecies are often not fulfilled as expected. Ruark then steps forward and shows them the dragon on his left arm, and tells them about how the clan chiefs get that mark in Meridian. Moiraine is stunned to realize that the Ael are the people of the dragon. Mat believes Rand killed the Dark One last night, and that the last battle is over and won. Moiraine says that the Dark One is not dead, as the one who was killed left a body and the Dark One would not. Everyone else is confused by this, even Ruark. Evidently they had all thought as Mat did. Egwene recalls the parchment that Varen was reading, which connected Baalzamon with Ishamel. Moiraine agrees that Baalzamon may have been Ishamel. If so, there are still 9 other Forsaken left, and with 3 of the 7 seals broken, only 4 are left to hold the Dark One's prison intact. Berelain, the first of Mayne, walks into the room and gives Moiraine a note, saying that it was given to her by an impressive woman. She is not sure why she is carrying the message, since it is not something she normally does. After this realization, she gives herself a shake and recovers her bearings. She tells everyone to inform Rand that she will be dining with the Lord Dragon tonight. Berelain looks at Ruark, whom she has determined is the leader of the Ael expedition, and says she will dine with him also in the near future. After Berelain leaves, Moiraine reads the note, which is written by Lanfear. It says that Luz Theron is hers and always has been, but that she delivers him into Moiraine's custody for safekeeping until she returns to claim him. Moiraine reiterates to Mat there is still much to come, as evidenced by the letter. He is ta'veren as well as the sounder of the Horn of Valir and will be an important part of it all. The others all look at him with varied expressions, having now learned his importance. Even Rourke seems to have a certain respect in his eyes. Matt reassures Moraine that he will do what needs to be done, while mentally preparing to flee. He wonders if Tom has recovered from his sickness yet. Maybe Perrin will be willing to leave with them. That was a recap of The Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan. The Wheel of Time Book 3.